Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to call on Deacon Mark Arnold with the Diocese of Corpus Christi for the invocation, and Natalia Arredondo, who's a senior call center representative and a trainer, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Deacon, if you'll lead us, please.
Thank you. Let us bow our heads. Good and gracious Father, all that we have comes from you, and we give you praise. As we enter this time of meeting and discernment for the city of Corpus Christi, we seek your guidance and wisdom that we may become one in the body of Christ, a refuge where all have a sense of welcome and a purpose in this great city. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Humbly, we pray for our mayor, for our city council, for our various levels of city officials, and for those gathered in these chambers. We ask that you will graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid conflicting interests and issues, a sense of assisting the needs of our people, a hunger for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is a difference of opinion. May your Holy Spirit bring peace in their lives and joys in their tasks at hand. We ask that you would provide a sense of an assurance that would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Corpus Christi. Bless the work of these your servants' hands and hearts, for it's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, and one indivisible.
Well, thank you both very much. We appreciate that. Ms. Huerta, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Joe McComb.
Here.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Rudy Garza.
Here.
Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Ben Molina.
Present.
Everett Roy.
Present.
Greg Smith.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni. City Attorney Miles Risley.
Here.
Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
All right. Well, we've got a couple of proclamations and presentations. The first one, proclamation for the Keep Every Youth in School Day. Who's going to be here for that? If you'll start making your way down. And then the next one is we got some honorary citizens we're going to give certificates to, and also a tax bill. And then recognition of our city. So this is going to be exciting. So you got lined up? Who's helping me down on this?
Yes, sir. This is going to be Rudy is on his way down. Hey, welcome. Great group. Great group. I think he must. Did you miss the Kiwanis?
What? Kiwanis?
This one's
What is Kiwanis? I don't see Kiwanis. It's not on the thing.
How are you, sir? Hello, Mr. Garza. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
This should be doing okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. McCall.
All right, this is Operation KEYS, Keep Every Youth in School Day. This is promoted by moms and dads that when they drop their kids off, you want to keep them there. But anyway, Rudy's going to help me with this, and then who's going to be the spokesman? All right.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Every year, over 1.2 million students drop out of high school in the United States, and that is one student every 26 seconds, or 7,000 a day. Education increases economic opportunities. Education creates a culture that values learning. Education encourages personal fulfillment, and education unites and empowers communities. The City of Corpus Christi, the Diocese of Corpus Christi, communities and schools, the West Oso Independent School District, and the Corpus Christi Independent School District had formed a partnership to ensure that all youth are enrolled in school. Operation KEYS, Keeping Every Youth in School, is a community-wide walk where citizens of Corpus Christi and CCISD employees will take to the streets, knock on doors of youth who are not in school, and provide families with the resources needed for you to return to school.
Now therefore, pursuant to the powers vested in me as the mayor of the city of Corpus Christi, I do hereby proclaim September the 14th, 2019, Operation Keys, Keeping Every Youth in School Day in Corpus Christi, and encourage all citizens to participate in the Operation Keys, Keeping Every Youth in School program. We commend you for your effort, and I'll give you this proclamation and ask for you to say a few words.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Monica Bayarena, and I'm the proud principal at Solomon Coles High School. I am also the director of the Office of High School Completion. Operation Keys, Keeping Every Youth in School, is an effort to reach out to students who have not returned to school and connect them with the resources that they need to graduate. Since 2008, Operation Keys, Keeping Every Youth in School efforts have brought more than 2,000 students back to school. Operation Keys 2019 will take place on Saturday, September 14th, 2019. This year, CCISD is excited to partner with Communities in Schools, a nonprofit dropout prevention agency. CCISD is proud to continue our partnership with the City of Corpus Christi, the Diocese of Corpus Christi, and businesses, churches, civic organizations, and citizens from all over the community who want to make a difference in the lives of young people. This year, Operation Keys is also expanding to include surrounding districts who will work to reach out to youth all over the coastal bend. Prior to the walk, phone bank volunteers will make phone calls to out-of-school youth on Thursday, September 5th. Please join us at Moody High School on Saturday, September 14th from 9 a.m. to noon, where teams will gather, then hit the streets to reach out to the school youth to offer them opportunities to complete their education. Beginning next week, you can register to be a volunteer for the Keys Walk or the phone bank at CCISD's website, www.ccisd.us. And I have to say thank you to Mayor McComb, the City Council, the Diocese of Corpus Christi, and Bishop Carmody for the support throughout the years since 2008, and for our new partners, Communities in Schools and West Oso ISD, who will hold their own Keys Walk. And I have to say, Mr. Ardondo's here, thank you to our Board of Trustees, because it was their vision in 2008 that started. So thank you so much for your support.
Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate what you're doing, because education makes a whole lot of difference all through their lives. So we appreciate it. Let's thank them for their work, and we'll get a picture, and then we'll turn around and say hello to the council.
Hey, make sure you can see me. No hiding behind someone. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Paulette, open your eyes. Stop it. I know.
I was looking down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to do the
Thank you.
and yes, please. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, our next proclamation, and I apologize for overlooking this on my list, is the Kiwanis Club of Corpus Christi 100th anniversary. If you're here for that, come on up. Oh, well, I don't know. There's Gordon. All right, come on in.
It can be.
All right, are there any charter members? All right. Hey, you laugh. We're living a lot longer. I see people in the newspaper that 103, 102. I mean, we're living longer thanks to medical science. All right, the next 100. All right. Well, I don't know any of them. I've met a few of them. I've been to a couple of birthday parties, and I tell you, I ran into a lady the other day. We were eating lunch Sunday, and they said these two other ladies had her out for lunch, and they recognized me and said, "Hello, Mary." Said, "This is her 86th birthday." And I said, "I don't know what 86 is supposed to look like, but you're the poster child. That lady looked like she's about 55 to me." But anyway, so we're living longer and looking good when we're getting there, so that's great. I'm going to ask Roland to help us with this one.
Yes, sir, Mayor, and I'm proud to say I'm a past president of this organization. So their bar's very low. Yeah. In 1919 in Texas, there were 7 Kiwanis clubs: Dallas, El Paso, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, and Marlin. The San Antonio Club, under the leadership of Al C. Steimers, came to Corpus Christi, at that time literally a fishing village, and found interest enough among the citizenry to organize the Kiwanis Club of Corpus Christi on August 16, 1919. The first president of the club was J.J. Pridgeon, a wholesale grocer, and the men who made up the membership totaled 48. Complete member records were not available due to the loss of records, furniture, buildings, and almost the entire town in the Category 4 storm on September 14, 1919. Club members gave $800, which was a considerable amount of money at the time, to be used for the victims of the disaster who were completely destitute. After the 1919 storm, the Rotary Club, formed before the Kiwanis, and the Kiwanis met and together helped in doing a great deal to alleviate the suffering. They worked on cleaning up the community, burying the dead, and fixing habitation for those that were homeless, as well as securing rations for the hungry and providing some funds where necessary. Today, they continue their work by improving the world, one child and one community at a time.
Now, therefore, pursuant to the powers vested in me as the mayor of the city of Corpus Christi, I do hereby proclaim August 16th, 2019, Kiwanis Club of Corpus Christi 100th anniversary in Corpus Christi, Texas, and encourage all the citizens to recognize and thank the Kiwanis Club of Corpus Christi for their efforts in making a difference in the lives of Corpus Christians. And we really do thank you very much, and you've made an impact over the years, and we just appreciate it. Which one of you is going to be the spokesman? All right, you're the lead. You're the lead of the group, so I don't know what they sent you up here for, but you got to pick.
We want to thank you, Mayor. We want to thank the council for the recognition. This most important day, 100-year celebration. How many people get to celebrate 100 years celebration? We do a lot of service to the community, and it reminds me of what I learned in high school. The life of service is the life that counts. That happiness endures to mankind from having helped lift the burdens of others. And that's what we live by. I'd like to introduce the members of the group. Brother Joel will introduce.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Joel Solis, and I'd like to say that
with all past members in mind, we're all very glad and very proud to be celebrating our 100th year. I'd like to go ahead and introduce all of the, you want me to introduce them all? Yeah. I'd like to go ahead and introduce our officers and some of our members that have joined us here today. We have Israel Garcia, who also serves as current Lieutenant Governor for the Kiwanis clubs here in the area. We have Mr. Ken Oliver. We have Will Deaton. We have Gus Barrera. We have Mark Silva. We have Mr. Gordon Landreth. We have Chuck Zeller. We have Scott Landreth. And we have David Habib. Here you go, sir.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, and I hope you have another 100 years here in Corpus Christi. So we'll see you back here in 100 years. All right, good. Thank you.
Good. Get on in.
Switch it up.
Everybody switch it up, but I'm not. I'm going to stay right in the middle.
Okay, you're all in there. Smile, open your eyes. Oh, good.
Ben, stop it, Will. Thank you. The Kiwanis. Thank you. Thank you. How are you, sir?
We gave you phonetic pronunciation of their names. Remember you met them. You can call them Theo, Lola, and Romain. You're gonna and read that.
All right, now we have a special treat. So for you Corpus Christi citizens, be on your best behavior. We've got some visitors here with our Sister City Exchange program, and I want them to be impressed with the citizens, so behave yourself while they're here, if you will. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize, but I'm going to do my best. All right. Miss Romaine Ponsel, Miss Lola Broussard Sastry, and Mr. Theophil Satoni. Kind of like Zanoni, pretty close. So, and they are from France? From France. I don't know that they've eaten any French fries while they're here, but we're glad they're here, and we've got we're going to make them honorary citizens of our city. And I think, Ms. Warlow, haven't you been keeping Theophil? Yeah, all right.
For 3 weeks now.
Has she treated you good?
Theophil?
Yeah, all right.
Theophil?
All right. Well, on this day, all have been made honorary citizens, and recognition thereof have been presented this certificate of citizenship, and shall forever hold and enjoy a place of high esteem in the minds and hearts of our people. And I've signed it and witnessed in my hand on August the 13th, 2019. So I'd like to give each one of you, let's see, Romaine. Thank you. All right. And Lola. I told her there was a song over here in our country. We got whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. You remember that song? For those of you that are old enough to remember that song. And Theophil, thank you very much. So say congratulations and welcome to Corpus Christi as our new citizens of the city. And Melody, you tell us a little bit about this program.
Well, this is a wonderful program, and these are 3 of our exchange students. We had 6 in all, but 3 have already departed, 2 from Yokosuka, Japan, and 1 from Keelung, Taiwan. These students are from our Agen France, who is our strongest connection. I'm kind of biased with France a little bit, but they have been wonderful, and we've tried to entertain them the best that we can. But I think you've had a good time, haven't you? Yeah. And they'll be here until Friday. And we also have our members of our Sister City Committee, Deacon Arnold, Elmira Flores, Carmen Newton, Gary Bowie, Teresa Rodriguez, and myself, and I'm the chair of the committee, and it's such a pleasure to have our host, to be hosting them. And Teresa, did you?
We want to thank you, Mayor, for leading this wonderful program, to the City Council for supporting since 1962 when we started with 1 city, Yokosuka, Japan. Now we have 7 sister cities. The sister city programs build bridges, helps strengthen the friendship relationships between towns, and to understand our cultures. And these are our great ambassadors for Corpus Christi and Agen France. So thank you so much for believing in this wonderful program.
We're glad to do it, and congratulations, and come back anytime. Thank you for coming. Let's give them a hand. Okay, we'll get it. Move down this way a little bit.
Before Paula gets in. I know.
Let's call that stool back over here.
That's okay. That's okay.
She should go down in the well with her.
That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you. All right.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
1, 2, 3. Thank you. Oh, wait, one more.
One more.
I want to go down. We should go down.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, go.
Okay, I'm going to go down. I'm going to join my son.
Yes.
Enough or no?
Sorry.
He's grown quite a bit.
Hours. We're early. Yeah. All right, great.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so now, yeah, you're calling, you're just announcing that now we're going to do, and he's coming down. Billy and him, and they're going to be recognizing Billy.
Okay.
So I just call them down. This is for the record. Okay, our next one is something that we're really proud of, and I'd like to have Billy and the folks in his delegation to come on down. Corpus Christi is receiving a recognition as a storm-ready city from the National Weather Service and the Storm Ready Advisory Board. And the way you get storm ready is that you practice, practice, practice in the event you have a storm. And I think as they say, the proof is in the pudding. If you recall in Harvey, this council was 3 months into its term, I guess. Or was that? Yeah, that was pretty close, about right. And well, no, they'd been in the term, but I guess as mayor, that's what it was. I was kind of in the middle of the term. But anyway, I'd been the mayor all of 3 months when Hurricane Harvey hit, and you really rely on the people that do this day in and day out. And one of the things that we told them, it's, you know, all of that practice, you wonder, does it ever pay off? And then when game day shows up, I mean, they did remarkable. Our first responders, emergency management people, they did a great job. Billy Delgado heads up this, and we got to be real close friends with the National Weather Service. And anyway, we just appreciate all the work that you've done. So who's going to be the spokesman for this? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mayor and City Council. And I do, as the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service here in Corpus Christi, I want to recognize Billy and his team, Chief Rocha, Richie Quintero, and Kim for their outstanding work in making this city a storm-ready community. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. The National Weather Service has a formal program that identifies whether there is an emergency operations center, and Billy runs a fantastic shop, and a 911 center as well. You have to have many ways to monitor the weather and relay that information to the community. Reverse Alert is an outstanding program that they maintain in this city. A well-organized emergency plan and a lot of practice goes into that plan. And then an outreach campaign that makes sure all the citizens are prepared when a dangerous storm does threaten. And another storm will come one day. And so it is important to be prepared. So Billy and everyone, congratulations and thank you for all the work that you do.
Well, let's give them a hand. They do a lot of work that we never see. Congratulations, and let's get Billy to say, no, come on. He is a man of few words, but when he speaks, you listen.
Thank you, and you know, it's a team effort, and John works very close with us during plans and drills. It takes a team. This is part of the team. Communication to the public is very key to letting the public know what's happening around during times of emergency. Thank you to the council, chief, and all the departments that help doing this, getting the city prepared. Again, it's a team effort, and it's a total team effort when everybody pitches in and everybody does a good job. And thank you, John, for the recognition that National Weather Service has given us, and thank you for your service, especially during Harvey.
But from now until November the 1st, and some of you may need to get unrusty, I want you to be praying that Billy will be the most bored guy in town at least until November the 1st. So let's get a picture, and thank you very much for your work.
There you go, Billy. Yeah. Good job, Billy.
Keep it up, Billy.
John, how you doing? Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Dial up some rain.
Thanks, Billy. Thank you. Hi, John. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Kim, thank you.
Good job. Okay, well, we're on item F, city manager's comments, but we're also at 12 o'clock, which is time that's designated for public comment. So I'd ask Ms. Huerta and Mr. Isley to go over the game rules for public comment at this time.
Citizens are authorized and encouraged to present their views to the council on agenda action items or during the petitions part on non-agenda city-related matters. However, such should be done in a factual, precise presentation, and count questions of council or staff are inappropriate. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed.
Good afternoon. I'm City Secretary Rebecca Huerta, and I'll be conducting the public comment period. I'd like to remind everyone that a recording is made of the meeting. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium and state your name and address. If you choose to speak during this public comment period regarding an item on the agenda, you may do so. You will not be allowed to speak again, however, when the council is considering the item. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes. On the podium, you'll see a timer underneath the base of the microphone. It will let you know exactly how much time you have left to speak. Once your time is up, a buzzer will go off, and then you can conclude your comments. If you have a petition or any information pertaining to your subject, please present it to the city secretary. And with that, we'll start public comment. The first person on the list is C.J. Johnson.
Good afternoon. I am C.J. Johnson from Corpus Christi, Texas. My address is 509 South Kawankawa, Corpus Christi, Texas, 78401, apartment number 25. Being the mother of a seriously mentally ill daughter who passed away in 2015, I want to enlighten and educate society that many of the causes of domestic violence, shootings, and killings can be caused by mental illness. I urge families who have mentally ill loved ones to consider to show love and to seek help and never give up. I want to say this in honor of my daughter, who almost became a killer. If I hadn't have been stepping in, having knocked down drag-outs with her. And I want to mention 2 things. The most important thing, when they start hearing voices, look out, because they're either ready for suicide or they're ready to kill. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, I have a series of individuals who list their topic as Kiwanis Club. So I don't, just to ensure that Gordon Landreth, Kent Oliver, Will Denton, Mark Silva, Gus, I can't read the name, Joel Solis Barrera. Yes, thank you. Joel Solis, Chuck Zeller, and Dr. Portis are not here to speak on public comment. I believe they were here for a proclamation, so we'll go ahead and skip those individuals. So the next person to speak is Sir Frederick Bond, USA. Sir?
Elmo.
Oh, you want it on? Okay. I think it's on. It's on. It is on. It's on there. See it? It's just upside down.
There's my name and address.
Okay.
Schooling. There's Texas Lutheran. Belmar. Princeton. And all of this.
Okay.
Is Yale University. And I'm a member of the New Age. Here's my TVs that I was talking about, which is a cell phone's internet. I'm here today to talk about trying to get a new city hall on the south side. I think we can get financing if you can get an international commerce bank such as Deutsche Bank, which is Germany, and also if you can get Lufthansa airline to come into Corpus Christi, and we have the Port Authority, which is having the new bridge and everything. So if the airport director is here and city financing to see about this for the future of our new city hall on the south side where everything is happening at the moment. And also I'd like to bring attention to our women in the CC Police Department. We have a lot of new recruits and a lot of the lower level, not made sergeant or anything yet, females that are in the department. And I would like to see our city get the first woman police chief, and to have her not be harassed or can work smoothly within the city. So we will take our police chief, Mike Merkel, to smooth out the wrinkles there. Police Chief Simpson had the goal of bringing all these women onto the force that we have now, and we need to do something with them. They need an educational break. so that they can move into the upper echelons, such as lieutenants, captains, commanders, and assistant chief. And we need a female police chief for a change here to be like some of the other cities, such as Dallas or whatever. The police chief can get these women available for the city council. It's about time for that change to come. And the lower level of uniform division, I feel that they're overweight, I would say, from the beats that they have, all the restaurants feeding them and everything. And so, and with this, the men officers that are off duty, they put in a lot of overtime. So some of the officers have been commenting to me about a woman's place is in the house with the kids and stuff. This is not true. This is a job for both parents.
Thank you, Mr. King.
So
Thank you, sir.
Next on the list is, excuse me, Melissa Rona, R-O-N-A-L, I believe is the name. Rohal. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Rohal. I live at 1109 Woodlawn Drive. And it's actually fitting today you were talking about storm readiness, because what I want to talk about has to pertain to that. I'm here today because I've been trying to get some answers regarding a violation I received on June 19th for early set out of brush. I have since paid a $100 fine and received a court summons for a misdemeanor charge. I have reached out to the compliance officer for answers and questions, and I've never heard anything back. My question pertains to the reason that the brush was set out to begin with. A large tree branch fell from the utility easement, breaking my cable line, and I had to take about a week to get a chainsaw to break it apart so that I could dispose of it myself. Grande then came out and restrung the line the next day. The problem lies in that I had tried to contact the city, AEP, and Grande about getting help to cut these lines back to prevent such a thing from happening. The city told me they don't deal with cutting trees back on the easement. Grande does not deal with any tree maintenance, and the city said to call AEP. So of all the 3 people I've called, not one was willing to help. So my husband and I have tried to do the best we can to maintain these trees, but we're not comfortable cutting around power lines. It's just not something I'm comfortable doing. We were lucky that the tree fell on the cable line, the branch, and not the electricity line that was right next to it coming into the house. So what happened is then we took about a week to cut it down. I moved the branches to the curb for my friend to pick up, and then about a couple days later it was gone. I assumed it was picked up for firewood. But then a couple weeks later, I got a notice in the mail that I was receiving a $100 fine and had a court summons. I had no warning, notification, or anything. The branches were just gone, and I was charged with the misdemeanor. So I guess my question is, in the future, who can I contact about preventing this from happening again on the idea of storm readiness? Because I've not been able to get any help or answers from the people I've contacted. Also, when I have someone that's going to pick up the brush for me, what do I do to avoid a fine in the next time? I mean, it was only out there a couple days. It was really bad timing. But do I need to call and contact the city, say, hey, I have someone picking this up. Don't charge a fine. I'm taking care of it. Really, I'm just looking for answers. I don't want this to happen again. It's been quite a stressful situation, especially when I'm trying to prevent damage from happening. So if anyone has any advice, I would really appreciate it.
That's Mr. Zanoni. If you could get somebody in touch with her to get her these answers. They're good questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next on the list is Gloria Scott.
I'm Gloria Scott. I live at 4422 South Alameda. Corpus Christi. I am bringing to you on behalf of Rita Hayward, who is the president of the Solomon M. Coles Alumni, and Janie Harris, the vice president, and the more than 175 members of Solomon Coles Alumni from all over the United States who came to Corpus Christi last week to celebrate this was their 32nd reunion. And you issued a proclamation, as you recall, prior to that. They're saying thank you very much for this. And they also are saying that they are supportive of Corpus Christi, the Solomon Coles alumni, support the CCISD and everything that's here. And they really wish to state that, and they were sorry that they were all gone by now. They came from all over the country. And the last event, formal event, they went to church yesterday at several places, and they really appreciated the presence of the city councilman to bring greetings and a welcome to them. The other thing I wanted to just do is support CJ's presentation and the memories of her daughter and the events, and to encourage everybody to weigh in to help with that memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Scott.
Lynn Harris.
Hello, my name is Lynn Harris, and I live on Versailles Street in the Flower Bluff area of Corpus Christi, Texas. I cannot remember the number of the address, sorry. Anyway, so you guys are going to vote soon on the changing of the hours for the library for during the school year. And you look at the statistics to help you decide if you're going to change them or not. And before you do so, I wanted to tell you that due to some problems in the offices, the library people had to move their offices into the meeting room where they do a lot of their events. So the meeting rooms area has been cut down by half, which has deeply affected the turnout of many of the events. And that since it's during the summer, a lot of people go out on vacations, things like that, so not a lot of people have been coming to the library, and not a lot of people have known that the hours were changed to the library. So just wanted to tell you guys that, so please take that into consideration when you vote on the hours. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Tony C. Hartwell.
My name is Tony C. Hartwell. I live in Flower Bluff, Texas, 78418. I'm here on, like Paul Harvey used to say when I used to listen to his radio show, he'd say page 1, now it's page 2. I'm going to comment about one thing that's real important at this point in time. I have a representative on District 4, Mr. Greg Smith, along with the councilmen at large. There are homeless people who think they can violate the law in Flower Bluff, and I'm getting sick and tired of these people cutting into traffic, running the red light section, not using the crosswalk. With all the police officers that we need to have in this city, you'd think that they would assign a couple of units to keep these people from running the red lights. The day I came here last week, or 2 weeks ago, to complain about that issue, about them running red lights, they had the four-way blinking red lights on the expressway, underneath the expressway on Walden Road. And tell you the truth, gentlemen and ladies, it was a pleasure to see these people stop speeding off the ramp or speeding onto the ramp on either side of the expressway. But these people, these homeless people, these wannabe homeless people are out there violating the law. They're jaywalking. They're crossing illegally without using the crosswalk. And when the sign says stop, they don't give a damn. All right, the biggest thing is I almost ran over two ladies who were trying to cut across because of Timmons Ministry from 10 to 12. Every day, Monday through Friday, they serve lunch for the homeless. The problem with the homeless, they just don't give a hoot, and they just cut right in front of traffic. They block traffic. I had the green light, and they still cut in front of me. Somebody's going to get killed. Just like I told y'all last time, if I get hit with these people coming off the expressway, coming onto Walden exit on Walden Road, there's going to be one heck of a lawsuit against this city. But the biggest thing is, I don't want to be a victim of hitting a homeless individual who don't give a damn about the law, the traffic law. The police department have a lot of officers that are out there, and I know they're completely overcrowded with their units. The problem is, if they can set up radar and pay these officers part-time pay or whatever it is that they do, they can do the same thing about Walden Road. We've had, 5 fatalities since January where homeless people were crossing the streets and got run over. Hello? You know, I don't need to be chief of police. I don't need to be city council. I don't need to be the mayor. I just am a citizen who pay and is a taxpayer, voter, register, voter. And I believe that my tax dollars are not being used properly. And it's not the police department's fault. It's the city council and the mayor's issues about taking care of these entities. Okay? Sooner or later, something's going to happen. And I don't care how many times I come here, like Paul Harvey's page 3 is coming up next. I guarantee you, you don't want to hear what I've got to say. All I ask is please use complete concern, because people are people, and I understand that. I come to City Hall just to come pay my utilities and stuff, and there are homeless people scattered around here. They look like a bunch of Indians getting ready to attack this building. Look what happened to El Paso at the Walmart. Look what happened to Dayton, Ohio. One of these homeless people are going to end up coming over here and causing some kind of damage and injury or death to someone, and I'm not going to be one of them.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwell.
Thank you.
Margaret Fratila.
Good afternoon, everybody. So thank you so much for listening to us. Margaret Fratila, 3606 Tripoli Drive, 78415. I'm here today to commend the police department for the great job that they did. I was coming in YCAP Sunday, so stopped to the traffic light, the truck before me, and the car coming with the speed of light behind 2019 Audi, so hit me, just took me out from the road and just really smashed the truck in the front. So 911 was handling amazing. And also, I can't believe that somebody said that it's 45 minutes till the somebody from the police department comes there, because they came in like probably 10-12 minutes, but was the longest time probably that I ever wait, because the car just pulled in a parking lot to the stripes and was really damaged, their car. But the explanation was that this gentleman that hit us said that he had a stroke, a while back, and he's sleeping at the wheels many times. So I don't know anything about how the law is it, but I think that he shouldn't be able to drive after this accident. So I don't know. I saw him taking off. Also, I like the city councilman a lot. Rudy Garza always talking about real estate, but I was talking about the middle lane in Island. If somebody was there pushing the stroller or just riding the bike in the middle lane, like we said that they should use this middle lane, they would probably be killed in that second. So we still have to look in Ireland for something that, people just walking in this middle lane. Luckily, nobody was there. Thank you so much, PD, for what you did. 2 officers, they were amazing handling the case. And appreciate it. The second is that I appreciate that our city manager is taking the stand on the homeless. I inventoried the homeless 4 years ago with a group of 25 people for the state to find out how much they have to allocate for these people. And I know a lot about them. We interviewed them personally, probably 100 of them. So I would like to volunteer to talk to you about that. And I'll be very happy to help you, because everybody has a story behind. So not all of them, they are in drugs or they don't want to, do what's supposed to do, but a lot of them, they have a reason. So the nonprofit organization receive a lot of money for those, and I feel that the churches, they will be the best that they can do something about that, because I saw it firsthand what they do it, and it works. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, as a courtesy now, I'm going to ask if there's anyone who did not have an opportunity to sign up who would like to speak at this point. If you could please indicate that. Okay, I don't see anyone indicating that, so the public comment period is closed. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move back to item F, City Manager's Report and Update on City Operations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, Mayor and members of the council. I just have 3 things today to update us on. One is some organizational leadership changes that I've made, and I'll brief you on where we are with the budget. That's well underway. And then I'm going to give you an update on some of our council meetings. We're going to be rescheduling some of them due to various reasons. Let me begin with talking about an exciting opportunity that I have had and the organization has had, which is to promote 2 of our individuals to 2 leadership roles in the city manager's office. After a national search and an interview process, I'm happy to say that I'm appointing Steve Vieira as Assistant City Manager for the City of Corpus Christi. We know that Steve has been here for 16 years in our city government, most of that time in human resources. And with some prior experience, he has close to 20 years of municipal experience focusing in human resources. So we're glad Steve is continuing to stay with this organization and in this new leadership role. Additionally, appointing Constance Sanchez as a Chief Financial Officer for the city. And Constance, similarly to Steve, has been a dedicated public servant for our organization. She has 28 years of experience in our government, and most of that time has been in financial management, about 18 years in our financial management of the city. So she knows where the money is, and she knows debt financing and such. Constance is a strong leader, and she will also oversee several operating departments and will remain in the city manager's office. So welcome those 2 to those leadership positions. I've also appointed 4 assistant directors over the past several weeks, and I didn't get a chance to highlight that to you in prior city managers' reports, but over the past several weeks I've appointed an assistant director for our wastewater services, an assistant director in solid waste, also an assistant director in information technologies with the help of Peter Collins for that appointment, and then an assistant director in engineering. We have 3 assistant directors there, so the one appointment made so far is in the support services of that department. So with the assistant city manager and the chief financial officer and those 4 appointments, and then in addition, a few other appointments I made in the initial part of my term here. I've appointed 9 executives over the past 3 months. But the reason I point that out is because 8 of those 9 are in a minority classification. And so diversity and minority hiring is an important goal for us as an organization. And I'm happy to say that 8 of the 9 recent appointments are in a minority classification. So a more detailed memo is being sent to you, Mayor and Council, and I know I've talked to each of you individually. That memo will also go out to the entire organization, and the organizational chart that's reflective of these appointments will also be attached to that memo that will be on our website as well. So we look forward to, I've talked to the council and I've talked to the community, and I still continue to do so. And one of the most important things in building a strong city is building a strong leadership team, and one that is focused on accountability and delivering for the community. And so I'm confident that these appointments made today and made over the past 3 months help to begin to rebuild that leadership team in our organization and ultimately for the community. So wish these persons well as we move forward. I know Steve and Constance are both in the front row today, and we'll be working closely with them.
Steve and Constance, stand up so people can see you, and then we can say congratulations.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that. Let's do a quick update on the budget as well. We know that this is one of the most significant things we're working on right now as a city organization. And last night we held our first budget community input session. That was in City Council District 1 at the Owens Hopkins Library. I must say that was my first time in that library. It's a beautiful library, some nice artifacts as well. There's some dinosaur bones that the librarian showed me, and a great little spot for our young and old up there in that part of our city. But we were fortunate last night to have Councilman Roy be our host for the meeting. That was the District 1 council meeting. The mayor was there as well as Councilwoman Guajardo and Councilman Smith attended. We had a real good turnout. And we had real good comments too, pretty on balance set of comments on some of the items that were in the budget and some other ideas that we can consider as a city organization for the community. We have 4 more of these hearings or input sessions, including tomorrow in District 3, Councilman Barrera's district at the McDonald Library. And then on Thursday, we'll be in Councilman Molina's district, District 2. That'll be at the Lindale Senior Center. And then the following week, next week, Councilman Smith at Ethel Every Senior Center. That'll be on Monday. And then the final one on Thursday, Councilman Hernandez at Garcia Library. That'll be Thursday, the 22nd of August. All of the budget input sessions begin at 6 to 7-ish. And we do welcome, and I know there's been a lot of advertisement out there on Facebook and through other avenues, but we do encourage residents to show up. This is a great way for us as an organization to get input from the community on what they want in our budget. We know that budget's for a fiscal year beginning October 1 for a 12-month period. So just like we heard the young lady from the Girl Scouts talk to us about the importance of that library, the more we hear about what the community wants, the more we can be reflective of that in the budget. We also have several budget meetings still. We've had one already that focused on public safety, but this Thursday we'll focus on some of our infrastructure items. That includes our streets and our engineering, and as well as our capital budget. That'll be this Thursday. Also on Thursday is our solid waste and our utilities operations. So that'll be this Thursday's budget work session. Just as a reminder, we have the A&M has the drone testing event also on Thursday, but it's from a period of 10 to 2, and it's kind of drop in. You don't have to stay for the whole time. So our budget work session lasts till about 11, but if somebody wants to sneak out a little early to get to the drone event, you can. However, you do have from 10 to 2 with lunch served, so you could also make it at the end of our budget work session if you'd like. So we're making good progress there, and that September 17th timeframe will be here before you know it, right? And then let me just update us on some changes to our council meetings. There's a few changes due to some national conferences and a few annual events that take place every year. We just want to make sure our schedules allows for us to conduct our business, so we're going to reschedule some of the council meetings. In September, the annual Coastal Bend to Washington, D.C., the CB to D.C. as they call it, is scheduled for September 10th. We have a council meeting on that Tuesday, and so we will reschedule that Tuesday meeting of September 10th to Friday, September 6th. And so before the trip, we'll have that council meeting on the Friday. The Coastal Bend to DC trip helps us as a city. I know several council members and the mayor will be going, but it will allow us to meet with the national leaders in Washington, as well as some of the military officials that are critical in making sure our bases remain strong here in Corpus Christi. And then in October, there's a couple of events that are causing us to change some of the council meetings. The Texas Municipal League Annual Conference is scheduled for October 9th and through the 11th. And so to accommodate that, the council meetings on that week will be rescheduled. The October 8th meeting will be moved up 1 week to October 1 is what we'll do there. And then we're going to be several city staff members, including myself, will be going to an annual International City County Management Association annual conference, and that's on October 20th to the 23rd. So we've also working with the mayor. We'll reschedule that October 22nd meeting. So in summary, over the next 2 months, in September, the September 10th meeting will be rescheduled to September 6th. That's the first change that'll happen. And then in October, we'll still have 3 meetings as we normally do. They will be on the dates of October 1, October 15, and October 29. And then the October 8th and 22nd meetings will be terminated at that point. So that concludes my comments for this morning, Mayor. Let me know if you all have any questions.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Don't see any. All right. Next item on the agenda is item 2 is regular meeting minutes for July 23rd and July 30th, and they're in that addendum package you got. Looks something like this. Anybody have any additions, corrections, deletions, modifications to the minutes of July 23rd or July 30th? Not entertain a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we got board and commission appointments. Item 3. The first one, I've got a question on the first one is the vacancy for the Corpus Christi B Corporation. We've got one vacancy due to resignation, and then there's one that's listed as inactive.
Correct.
And I think you tried to explain to me, and I'm not sure I quite understood it, but let me see if I did. Somewhere, sometime, the term of Mr. Gabe Guerra was to terminate in July of 2019, but somewhere we changed the date, or explain to that to me again now.
So the terms of the Corpus Christi, initially we only had a Corpus Christi Type A corporation.
Okay.
And that corporation, the terms expired along with the fiscal year. So the fiscal year back in the day was ended on July the 31st of 2019. And that's when Mr. Guerra began serving on that board. Well, as we've progressed and added the Corpus Christi B Corporation, the idea was to appoint the same members on both corporations and also to change the appointment date to coincide with our fiscal year, which had been changed to October. So Mr. Guerra, the term that he was appointed to ended on July 31st of 2019. He met the 6-year service limitation at that point. So per the charter, that he wasn't allowed to serve. Once he met that 6-year service limitation on July the 31st, he could not serve any further. So he became inactive at that point. And he did not indicate since the same members serve on both corporations, his service also on the B was inactivated at that point. So that's the story of Mr. Guerra's service, if that makes sense.
All right, well, let me ask a question then, Mr. Risley. All of my experience, and I've been told that when you reach the end of your term, unless you have been replaced, you continue to serve until somebody replaces you. And if that's the case, then he should continue to serve on this board. The reason is that they're having a problem getting a quorum, and it's got him listed here as inactive. But he continues to serve until his replacement is named. Is that not correct?
Not when I'm sorry, but just not when it comes to the 6-year service limitation. The 6-year service limitation, you do not serve further. It stops at 6 years. I'm sorry, Miles. Let me let you. I just wanted to make that clear.
All right. So he's not inactive. It's vacant.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
I mean, he dropped. It dropped open on July 31st.
That's the interpretation. Yes.
So would it be inappropriate to fill the vacancy of Mr. Maldonado, who resigned, and Mr. Gabe Guerra is vacant, or because that term in 45 days are going to be back again?
That's what.
Yeah, you can, if you want to fill both of those spots, you could. One thing you might want to do is specify that you're filling it for the current existing open seat and for the opening that will become effective on the end date, which is, or the beginning date, which is October 1st. So specify when you're that they are going to be filling the completion of that term, and also for the term starting October 1st. So I would recommend specifying that to fill that second spot.
Or we can just leave it open and do it 30 days from now.
That's up
Right.
to you.
Yeah, right.
So, all right, so we're just going to do it, we're just going to deal with one seat today then. Because you've got,
Mr. Maldonado.
if I'm looking at this, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, which includes Mr. Guerra, 3 plus Mr. Guerra's term ends on September 30th.
Of
So
2019.
those 4 seats will become open for full 1 year or full 2-year term.
Yes, Mr. Harris and Mr. Balls. And Guerra.
Well, Michael Hunter, but he
Well,
doesn't.
Mr. Hunter is,
He doesn't terminate.
No, that's just a non-voting.
He's a-
Yeah.
He doesn't terminate, he just terminates. All right. All right, well, then let's just do, we got 1 slot that is open because of resignation.
Right.
And then one's, so I hope everybody else shows up because this board's got a meeting on Monday and they've been, one of their problems and concerns is they can't get a quorum.
Well, they meet it. It's just sometimes we just want to be sure that they have enough people.
Well, we've got to be politically correct here. Okay, let's just do one. Well, I mean, we're going to be back in 45 days to do them all again anyway. And for clarification, the term then will become October 1 till 2 years later, right? So if either one of these, well, let's assume we're doing the one today, we're appointing to fill the unexpired term.
Correct, of Mr. Maldonado until
So
2020.
let's just get real clear up front instead of at the end that filling this position does not count towards time served when it comes to term limitations on the 6 years.
That's right.
Right, because it's mid.
Yeah, it's filling an unexpired term. That's correct, Mayor. Right.
All right. So we don't want to run into
issues.
Which comes first, the chicken or the egg when it comes to term and how much time you serve. So we've been through that game before. Okay, so let's take nominations or suggestions for the vacancy that's been created by the resignation, which, by the way, Mr. Maldonado's term doesn't end until 2020. So
Were we skipping? We're to do charter at the end, Mayor? The
Huh?
charter review? You didn't?
do what?
Charter review was first on the list, so I said we're going to just do that after.
Oh, well, I had it last on my list. But anyway,
Really?
does it matter
Oh,
what order we do it in?
No, we'll just do
Okay.
these and we'll go back to, I won't forget. Okay, so for
Well,
Corpus
we-
Christi B Corporation, Mayor?
I'd like to nominate Diana Summers.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Alan Wilson.
Okay. Any other nominations?
Any other?
Okay, so we have
All
two
right.
individuals.
All
Or
right.
would you like to begin the voting, Mayor?
Well, we'll just start at this end and work our way
All
to
right.
Summers.
Summers.
Okay.
Summers.
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 Wilson.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Summers is appointed to the B Corporation.
All right, and then we'll have an opening next month.
Sir?
We'll have a meeting next month for filling the other 4.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's right, in September.
All right, thank you.
And then there's also the B Corporation,
Any other spots open up?
Excuse me?
the Corpus Christi Type A. The next appointment is the Corpus Christi Business and Job Development Corporation.
We should have been done them at the same time.
Yeah,
Well,
we could have, but I didn't want to assume. Yes. Are
Well,
you?
I'm sorry,
Did you?
but I thought these two became one. And one, when you appoint one, you point to both. So, I mean, why do we have to do this dance twice?
Mayor, we can, if it's understood that the council meant to appoint them to both, then we can do that. We just don't want to make that assumption. It's not required. It's a choice that the council makes to do that. It's an option. If that was the intent, then that's fine. So you appointed Ms. Summers to the B Corporation and the Corpus Christi Business and Job Development, right? Is that correct, council?
Yes.
Okay, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so for the record, she was appointed to both. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
No, it already.
Did you vote?
It got 6. So, I mean,
That's true.
yeah. Well,
1, 2. So it's enough. You don't want to,
no, put it down for Summers then, for 6.
For Summers, for
7.
you.
So
Okay.
that's done, I'm sorry.
yeah, thank you,
But,
Ms. Wahar.
I mean, I thought the whole purpose of combining these was that you didn't have 5 people showing up for a meeting at 8 o'clock and the next board meeting at 9 o'clock, or they didn't,
Right.
you know, that. So, I mean, it's all for one and one for all, from what I understood.
Yes, yeah, it was written where the council has the flexibility to do that, to appoint the same people to both.
Okay,
So thank you, Mayor.
all right, so.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so next on the list is the Mayor's Fitness Council. These are mayoral appointments, and there are 2 vacancies representing the categories of disability networks and 1 at large.
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask council to support the recommendation of Cody Gregg for at-large and Sarita M. Porter for Disability Networks on the council.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. The Parking Advisory Committee. Let me ask a question about this.
Okay, so Parking Advisory, there's 10 vacancies, but staff is recommending postponing 5 of them. So today, we would ask the council to consider 5 vacancies. And they are the Building Owners and Management Association, the Uptown Neighborhood Initiative, the Downtown Area Council Member Nominee, the North Beach Community Association, and the Corpus Christi Convention and Visitors Representative would be the ones we'd be looking at today. One person is seeking reappointment, and that is Robert Catalano, representing North Beach. So is there an interest in reappointing Mr. Catalano?
Move to reappoint.
Second.
I hate to ask a foolish question.
Yes, sir.
What does this committee do?
Well, if you look at the...
I mean, to help parking? Do they
It
meet?
provides advice and recommendations to the police chief, city manager, or city council relevant to administration enforcement of parking, on-street and off-street parking.
All right.
That's what it was created to do.
Well, of all the people that are shown here, either nobody shows up for the meeting and only one person has, and that's been 4 out of 4 meetings. Is it a one-person committee?
Right now, if there's no action taken, there's just one person serving. That's correct, Mayor.
So we've had all these people on there, but they didn't have enough interest to stay with the, so
Well, I don't
can
want
we review this committee? I mean,
Yes, this is under the review that we're doing.
and let's just don't appoint
Yes,
anybody.
it is under the review that's being done through our, the city secretary's office has partnered with the city manager's office to get that done. So there's a survey that has gone out to departments asking for information on retention, recruitment. That's underway now. I need to, so it is part of it, Mayor, because it's an advisory committee. So we can get you some data and answers on
I'd
that.
recommend that we just postpone until we get the review in, to see what.
You'd rather wait right now? Okay.
I mean, all right, we're going to postpone this one.
All right, we'll postpone it, sir.
Parking.
Okay. Parks and Recreation has 6 vacancies. However, the 6 vacancies all these individuals are seeking reappointment, and they're Mandy Cox, Florence Flo East, Hannah Husby, Cassandra Lorenzen, Alyssa Mejia, and Howard Shower.
And they're all eligible for reappointment.
Yes, sir, and they have good attendance.
All right, entertain.
Reappoint.
Second.
All right, a motion to reappoint all those that are eligible, and that's all of them.
Yes, sir.
Any other comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, then last we have the charter, Mayor, the Charter
All right, the
Review Ad
charter-
Hoc Committee.
The charter revision, that was in your addendum also, and this is item number, it should be item number 3. It's an emergency on the charter review.
So for charter review, Ms. Councilmember Roland Barrera, his appointee has had to relocate or has accepted a position outside of the city, so he's resigned his slot, and Mr. Barrera has a new appointee that he'd like the council to confirm.
All right, and that is Aaron Munoz?
Correct.
All right. Make a motion for approval?
So move.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Huh?
For the record, Mr. Hunter voted aye.
Okay. All right, that concludes our board and
It does, thank
committee
you.
appointments.
Yes, sir.
All right. We finished public comment. All right, we'll go over to agenda item K, which is items 4 through 17. This is the consent agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to have any item 4 through 17 pulled for discussion? What item?
No,
All right,
ma'am, that's
these are for items 1 through 4 through 17.
Correct.
So we'll get to that one in a minute. Anybody have any item from the public that want to have items discussed 4 through 17? None? Anybody in the council?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to pull, just for discussion's sakes, 4 and 5.
Wait a minute,
And,
wait. Go on. You're throwing a curve at me. 6, 4, and 5?
Not 6, 4 and 5. I said for discussion, 4 and 5.
Okay.
And I also like to pull number 13.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? 4, 5, and 13, right?
Yes, that's what he said.
Anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion then for approvals of 6 through, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17, and I understand that Henry Garrett is not the former police chief.
Okay. Did you confirm from B-Bill?
I don't think it is, but anyway, entertain a motion for those numbers. All right, the motion, is there a second for items 4, 5,
Second.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17? There's a second.
Second.
Any public comment on any of those items?
Yes, consent with the exception of 4, 5, and 13. Yeah, just want to make sure.
with the exception.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Okay,
No.
he's good. So we have a motion and a second. Yes, sir.
All right, so yeah, 6 through 17, except 4, 5, and 13. All right, that's the motion. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We got 1, 2, 3 members not here.
Fine.
So
Yeah,
it's
we've
6.
got 6.
All right, item 4.
Mayor and members of City Council. Items 4 and 5 are related. Item 4 provides for a 5% increase in the franchise fee that's charged for electricity. Item 5 allows for that franchise fee to be passed through to the customers for electricity. It would raise approximately $500,000 per year once it's in place. And once it's in place, it will amount to approximately a 12-cent per month month increase on a person with a 1,000 kilowatt hour bill. Many of y'all have a 2,000 kilowatt hour bill, so it would be approximately 24 cents a month.
Okay. Mr. Nance, you pulled it. You want to
Yes, and just looking at this, has this been calculated into our budget for next year?
Yes, it has been.
Okay, so I just wanted, just for the record, that this is going to be increasing fees to our citizen that's been added to that. Thank you.
Any other questions on 4 or 5? All right, entertain a motion for item 4 and 5. Motion second on approval of item 4 and 5. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay. Item 13. 5 service agreements for mowing services and vacant properties.
Okay, this is more of a budget question. In the line item budget I received, or the amended budget I received 10 days ago from our new CFO, this budget line item had $245,756 in it. In looking at the agenda memo, it's $345,556. Where did the additional $100,000 come from?
So some of it is our general fund money, and then some of it comes out of our CDBG funds.
Okay, where exactly did the $100,000 come from? It didn't specify where the additional $100,000 come from.
I believe it's from our grant funds, but we'll have to take a look at that and verify the 345.
And it's 100,000 is demolition and 100,000 is mowing and clearing. So that's where that 100,000 would have come from, is the mowing and clearing section for this.
Okay, I understand that. I just want to have some clarity as to where money's coming from when it's being spent. Okay, it didn't specify, just all of a sudden the money showed up in that account number.
Right. So
and so if we don't know where that money's coming from, it's hard to say, okay, let's spend it. So if it was transferred somewhere, because I just got an amended budget 10 days ago, and so something had to have changed in the last 10 days. We should be at least know where that money's coming from before you go out and spend it.
Right.
Sir.
We can see it now.
So, Mr. Hernandez, so the financial impact table is a sum. The current year line item budget would be a sum of the general fund 1020 and then the 1059 CDBG fund. So if you add those two together, you come up with a 345,000.
Okay, so and this is where I said I don't have access to that where that other money is coming from in terms of.
Okay, so in the agenda memo, we have listed the 1020 general fund, and also on the next page it says 1059 CDBG grant fund. So it's the combination of those two together.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I don't know how much money we have in that grant fund. I don't have no tracking of what's grants are available. This money's from. So like I said, I don't see where that money's.
Okay, I'll double check, but it should be included in the amended budget that you had received.
All I see is on the amended budget for that account, for that line item is the 245.
No, I'm sorry, in Fund 1059. In that file that was sent.
CDBG grants?
Yeah, under CDBG grants.
You're probably just looking at the general fund, Councilman, so you'd have to look at the CDBG account as well. That's where the 100,000 is.
Correct.
You're probably just looking, I don't have that information in front of me that you're looking at, but it sounds like you're looking at just the general fund budget. You'd have to refer next to the grant budget.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we need to at least have a copy of the grant budget.
Yeah, okay.
Because we don't have copies of it. And just it has nothing to do with what this project is. Just need to track where this money's coming from.
Right, and we do that just to, I mean, I think the council knows, but for it to be recommended at this point, there's numerous steps to verify the money's there and there's sufficient money, it's the right use. We don't want to bog the council down necessarily with the line item detail, but I mean, you can look, but I just want to let you know that by the time it gets to this level, there's many checks of management to say the money's there and it's for that purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just consider it another check.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
You
Just
can turn
one
your
question.
microphone on, Constance, if you want to.
So we have it on the Elmo. It's this one right here. Yes, sir. That's the budget.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, not related to this, but this is for the vacant and abandoned properties we mow and clean up when people have code enforcement complaints and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, sir, there's 100,000 for demolition and 100,000 for mowing and clearing.
All right. And I think I asked this, I don't know how many meetings ago, and it was prompted because of a house on Glaze Brook in Austin. The lady's been dead for 10 years, and we still can't get any action on that house. I asked for a report from our lawyers on tax collection, why it takes 10 years to do something. That's absolutely unacceptable. And we're spending, and we're never going to get this money back. But we're spending it, which is, in my opinion, a waste of taxpayers' money because somebody, the lawyers, in my opinion, the collection agencies, are falling down on their job. They've had 10 years to get the case resolved.
And Mayor,
we're still out there messing with it. And you drive by there today, it looks like a dump. The rest of the neighborhood looks pretty nice. It's amazing to me the neighbors aren't down here with their torches. If it were my neighborhood, I would be.
Right.
We've got to do something, and we need to get Callum Limebarger down here and tell us where they are on trying to move these vacant properties forward. I don't care what the law says about 1 year, 2 years. I understand that. 10 years, I don't understand, and that's not acceptable.
And Mayor, you're exactly right. And we actually had a meeting with Limebarger. It's probably been 3 weeks ago, and expressed that. And they are working with us. So there's these ones that are problem properties we're taking forth, and they're going to put them to the front of the line. And actually, the one you're talking about, I believe that it is ready to go to the tax sale.
Well, it probably wouldn't have been ready if I hadn't started asking questions about 3 months ago. So we need to look at that contract with them. I mean, they've got to be a little more aggressive in trying to help us resolve our problem. Because this item here, you added up, is $200,000. 10 years, that's almost $2 million, if that's the average. I don't know how long the rest of them are taking, but that house just, because I pass it all the time, it just drew my attention. I said, what a dump. And find out the lady's been dead for 10 years.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's awful. And either, just this automatic renewal of contracts is something we need to look at. And they're doing a great job on tax collection, but on these that are tied up in these situations, there's got to be an improvement, in my opinion. Yeah. I may be singing along.
You're not wrong. I mean, it's a continued strain on code enforcement. Have to keep going back and revisit these.
Maybe we need to sign, Mr. Zanoni, maybe we need to get a quarterly report from our tax collection people on where we are on all these abandoned and dilapidated houses and where we are on the steps to try to get them closed out legally and just so we know that they're doing something on them rather than the squeaking wheel gets the grease.
Yes, sir.
All right. And there's a motion and a second on item 13. Any public comment? Excuse me?
Is there a motion and a second?
I thought there was.
I don't think so. Thank you.
Oh, I thought there was. All right, now there is. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that was all then in our consent agenda. Let's go, we're not quite to 1:30, so let's go ahead with we got a public hearing. Public hearing on the resolution and approving the Corpus Christi Crime Control District budget for fiscal year October 1, 2019, ending 2020. 20. We'll have the presentation, then we'll open the public hearing. Is that the proper procedure?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we hear the presentation. If council has specific questions for staff, and then we'll open public hearing.
Okay, and this is the one I think you were interested in.
Yes.
Item 18, right?
Correct.
Before we moved on to the public hearing, if there would be room for one public comment. I came in right as y'all were closing public comment. It's really hard to get in time because people get off right at 12.
Okay, well, you'll get a chance here in just a minute when we get the presentation.
Yes. It's a public comment unrelated. I do want to speak about the public hearing, but I have a public comment unrelated to the public hearing. I've been calling
Okay.
different city officials.
Well, let's deal with the public hearing right now, and then we'll give you an opportunity to speak to the item here on this one.
Okay, but I have a public comment unrelated to
All right, well, we've closed the public, the public comment period, but I thought you said you wanted to speak on item 18. That's why we.
I do.
She does.
Okay, all right.
I was hoping that before the public hearing.
All right. Well, we're sorry we missed on that. Public hearing presentation. Yes, Chief.
Morning, Mayor and Council. This is 2020 Crime Control Budget Public Hearing. This is a single reading. So the Crime Control and Prevention Fiscal Year 2020 budget. Within the budget, as you know, we have 63 police officers. That's broken down to 61 patrol officers, 2 supervisors. There's 3 vehicles in there it pays for. This current budget is going to pay for additional patrol rifles, in-car video systems, and some additional lighting for the officers, tactical lights. This next page shows the general breakdown of the way the crime control budget is for officers out in the street, but all crime control officers are in uniform and out in the field. Total expenditures are $7,562,000. Revenue $7,540,000. Ending fund balance is $4,953,000. As you know, we went to first reading in the Crime Control Board on June 19th. They approved the budget to send it forward. And today, you as a council and mayor will adopt the budget if you have no issues. I stand by for any questions.
Any questions on this crime control? I don't see any lights. I'm not an accountant, so just help me here just a second. The sales tax revenue is $7,476,031, right? That's the revenue. Your beginning balance for $9 million, something, 4.9.
So there's a $22,800 deficit going into fund balance.
Okay, but what I'm confused about, and tell me here, like I said, I'm not an accountant, but on my page 634, if I look at the budget for total expenditures, you're saying it's going to be $7,562,835 for the crime control district.
Correct.
On page 635, if you look over there on their expenditures, you're going to have total expenditures of $7,087,835. There's a $475,000 difference between the 2 pages for the same expenditures.
There's some other ones in there.
Well, I mean, if total expenditures is total expenditures, is what I'm saying. So the number on the right-hand page, I'm not an accountant, so, so help me here. I see where the $475,000 is, but it ought to be reflected on page 635 if it's on 634. It's an expense.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me. So page 634 is the summary total, and then 635 starts each individual cost unit or org. So that just accounts for the $7,087,000 just accounts for your police officer costs. So then if you turn the page, the subsequent pages, you have the cost for public safety vehicles and then your reserve appropriation. So the sum of those 3 pages equals your $7,562,000. Like, look at the title on page 635. It says police officer cost -11711. So that's just one cost unit that makes up part of your $7,562,000 or $7,540,000, excuse me,
Okay,
expenditure.
well,
Yeah, it doesn't, this number, you've got vehicles and reserve.
all right, well, I just,
Yeah.
I saw where the 475,000 was, it wasn't reflected in both of them, so, okay. Well, the good news is that the Crime Control District's paying, I think, 63 police
63
officers.
officers, that's correct, sir.
And that's based on sales tax revenue.
1/8% sales tax revenue.
Right. So, the bad news is that a couple of years ago, we had to eliminate everything else that the Crime Control District was doing.
That's correct. That was not an
Because
easy
there wasn't any
decision, but
Okay. All right. Any other comments on item 18? Mr. Hernandez?
Real quick question on this. Is there a requirement for what that reserve balance needs to be? Is there a percentage requirement, or is it just whatever it is?
we set the reserve balance at $2 million some years ago to in case the fund were ended by the taxpayers, and we could attrition out the officers. We try to keep a large fund balance now because, as you can see, we're eating into the fund reserve balance as we move forward. And as we move forward with contractual obligations, insurance costs, and those things, that 63 officers are going to get more expensive, and we're going to continue to eat into the reserve balance. That was the goal 2 years ago when we had to, unfortunately, discontinue some of those other programs, was to concentrate on the 63 officers and keeping them in the field as long as possible, and maintaining a high fund balance. So the goal is right now to keep as high fund balance as we can, so we'll be able to extend the life of those officers rather than diminish the 63 to 60 to 55 and on down the road.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, entertain a motion for item, oh no, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Open the public hearing
All
now,
right,
please.
we'll open the public comment period on item 18. Now-
Is there any way we could pull up those numbers again? What the Crime Control District is going to be, and Prevention District is going to be paying for? The line items that were up when the
I'm
chief
not-
was speaking?
I don't have, there you go. Oh,
Which page?
that-
Oh, I'm sorry. Right here?
The ones, yeah, that. So I just want to, since there's some new council members, I feel like there's been a little bit of rewriting of history here. It's true that a couple of years ago, a lot of the things that the Crime Control and Prevention District was eliminated. It's not true that they had to be. It was a choice. The Crime Control and Prevention District was created not to have more police officers. We don't create special districts just to hire more police officers. It was created to specifically prevent crime, to enact programs that, proactively prevent crime. Programs like the Juvenile Assessment Center, which worked with youth who committed minor crimes like truancy or curfew violations, and worked with them to make sure that they weren't repeat offenders, and assigned them caseworkers and helped them not become long-term repeat offenders and adult offenders. So it eliminated that program along with other prevention programs, simply to keep the extra officers. So I just want to make sure that that is clear to the new council members who are sitting here, that those programs were eliminated. Before y'all vote to approve this budget, I would like to know what exactly in this budget is preventing crime, because when the voters originally authorized the sales tax increase for the Crime Control and Prevention District, they were authorizing it for the prevention of crime. They were authorizing it for programs, social programs, not just police officers, not additional police officers, but social programs that help prevent crime from happening in the first place. So I want to know what specifically this list is doing to help prevent crime from happening, because that's what this district is supposed to be for. It is supposed to be a social program that is preventative, that prevents crime from happening, not just 63 police officers and equipment that responds to crime. I don't really, after the crime has happened, I don't really care, you know, what the 63 police officers do. If I've been a victim of a crime, I'm already a victim. I want the crime to not happen. I want us to have social programs that prevent the crime from happening. So I would recommend that the council tell the Crime Control and Prevention District to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate and look at social programs, look at prevention, look at what this district was created to actually do.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Ma'am,
very
can you
much.
state your name and address for the record, please?
Mimosa Thomas, 710 Ponder Street, 78404. I live in District 2, Ben Molinas District.
Thank you very much.
Susie Luna Saldana, 4710 Hackle. Having been there when crime control actually started, can you believe that? And it was under Linda Bridges, and we did have a truancy factor in it, but it has always been to prevent crime with our police officers, okay? And it actually originated at that time. We had truancy officers being carried forward, but that was the only social thing that was there. The rest have come in throughout the years. So if you go back and look at history, that's when it originally started, but it has always been able to get the officers in there to be able to prevent crime. One officer can deter more crime by his presence than all the social programs you have. So I want you to be aware of that, because that was not the intent of crime control. I happen to be lucky enough to be president of crime control at this time, and I can tell you that that budget was looked at very carefully. And when we had to cut the programs that we did, it was a very hard thing. But like you all are familiar with, sometimes you have to tighten up your belts and do what is necessary, which is what crime control did. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I know I'm out of time, but I can show you the statistics.
No, we thank you very much. We'll get them to take a look at it, because your time is up on this one.
I can show you the numbers. She gave you unfactual information. My mother created the Juvenile Assessment Center with Linda Bridges. So Linda Bridges, I'm sorry. My mother created the Juvenile Assessment Center with Linda Bridges. She has the numbers on exactly how it worked. It became an international model for preventing crime. It won Corpus Christi the All-American City Award. The Juvenile Assessment Center did. The rates at which it lowered juvenile crime. We have the numbers. So if you want to vote on this budget, that's fine. If you think police officers are more important, that's fine. But I'm not going to sit here and let her say inaccurate numbers. I have the numbers. I can send them to you. There are actual factual statistics. We have the numbers. When you did vote to eliminate the Juvenile Assistance Center 3 years ago, the Caller Times did a huge investigative piece on it where they showed the numbers flat out. So
Well,
you can look them up.
if you'll-
I would encourage you to maybe table this vote and look at the numbers before you decide on it.
All right. Well, if you'll send us that information, we'd appreciate it, and we'll get it to the manager for him to review. Thank you. Yes, Chief. Any other comment?
No other comment. This is a.
All right, any other questions?
it's a vote.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Just to close the public hearing, Mayor, please. Thank you.
All right, any other public comment? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Is it for action today, or is this just a public hearing for next time?
It's a resolution, single reading action.
Correct. The resolution
And
is
that's
for
today.
action today.
All right, entertain a motion in favor of or in opposition to item 18?
Well, in favor of the budget, Mayor, as presented?
I'll entertain nobody's made a motion yet, so I'm entertaining a motion in favor of.
Okay, so in favor.
You made a motion in support of item 18. And a second, all right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, any public comment on item 18 after
Well,
that?
we already had the hearing, Mayor.
All in favor of item 18, say aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. And if you'll get us that information, we'd appreciate it. We may not be able to deal with it this year, but it gives us a chance to look at it and make sure that we're doing what the voters intended to do. I think we are, but I thought I'd like to have that information.
I'll send you the information. You had it 3 years ago. You tried it.
Well, I wasn't here 3 years ago, I'm sorry. But I will, if you'll send it to me, we'll look at it. Thank you. All right, the regular agenda items 19 through 22. First reading of these items, 19 through 22. And let's see, wait a minute. Wait a minute, is 23, the new 23, is that a
Those addenda
first reading?
items, my understanding, those are going to be considered individually.
23?
Yes, sir. 23 is an ordinance. 24 and 25 are motions.
Okay, but the new 23, is it part of the first reading ordinances?
If the city manager's okay with that, yes, we could do that.
You can group it with the first reading ordinances.
All right, so what we are in first reading ordinances now, it's items number 19, 20, 21, 22, and we've got an addendum for an item 23. Is that correct?
Also, on item 22, there's a change to the contract, the second agreement. That's it's not the ordinance itself, but there's a contract attached to that. And just for clarity, the designated.
Well, let's just go one at a time.
Okay.
Anybody have any comments, questions on item 8 on 19? All right, ready, Mr. Garza.
It talks about, and I'm in favor of purchasing this transport vehicle. The only question that I have is, if we have a fund for damage claims, how do we make sure that whatever damages that were occurred or that we filed claims for have been taken care of before we actually use these funds for another purpose? I guess I'm talking about previous periods when we've had some claims made, say for instance at the golf center for fire in the building, or do we just put all the claims money in a big pool and then we draw from it? How?
These subrogation funds are specific to police car accidents where the police officer was not at fault,
So
which
we
is
have
the majority of
separate
them.
fun- we have separate
So
funds
this is
for
a
that.
separate line item, that when their insurance pays recovery on that vehicle damage, it goes into that specific subrogation fund. And then we utilize that in this instance to buy a new prisoner transport van.
Perfect. Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you.
Any other questions on item 19?
Really, I had a public comment, but I came in just right as y'all were closing public comment because
Is this related to item 19?
it's related to the police department and funding, so I guess it is, since I couldn't do a public comment. I know police contract negotiations are going on right now. For reasons that nobody will explain to me, public comment is not allowed at those meetings, even though they are public meetings. I've called the city manager's office. I've called the city legal department. Other citizens have as well, requesting that the city talk about changes to accountability and disciplinary action in the contract negotiations. And I have watched all of the videos of all of the contract negotiations, and that has not been brought up once. But yet public comment is not allowed during those meetings. Every time I'm told, well, you can public comment during city council meetings. City council meetings are not that often, and public comment is not very accessible, as you see, because everybody gets out at 12. You rush over here at 12. You get here, right at 12:30, and then public comment is closed. So I really think y'all should consider allowing public comments at the contract negotiation meetings, since they are public meetings. Like, we're allowed to come, we're allowed to watch, but we're not allowed to speak. And then I can stop bothering y'all.
Well, you're not bothering us.
But eventually they're going to work out a contract, and y'all are going to have an up or down vote on it. The public is not going to be okay, considering the incidents that some of the incident that just occurred. The fact that there is a police officer still on city payroll who who shot an unarmed civilian with and is currently facing no consequences. The public is not going to be okay if y'all approve a contract that has absolutely no changes in the disciplinary procedures, because right now the contract that they have makes it impossible to discipline an officer who does make a mistake or who is unfit to be on the force. So, and no changes in disciplinary procedures have been discussed in those contract negotiations. I've watched the videos. So there should be public comment allowed at those contract negotiations. That's somewhat related to vehicle funding, I guess, because I don't know. But that's what I wanted to say. And I came in literally like 2 seconds too late to say it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I believe that the negotiations are continuing, so the subjects you talked about may come up in the meantime. But Ms. Risley, would you respond to public meetings or meetings open for public attendance, but no public comment made at negotiations? Can you tell us what ruling in that is?
We'll look into that issue. And there have been some changes to public comment requirements that have been made in the latest legislative session, and we'll determine whether or not those need to be applied to the collective bargaining meetings themselves. As for the comment regarding police officer discipline, police officers are routinely disciplined and held accountable for their actions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on item number 19? Mr. Garza?
No, sorry.
No? Okay. Entertain a motion for approval of item 19.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, item 20, ordinance authorizing amendment to Women, Infants, and Children Nutritional Program. Any comments on that? Public comment? Any council comments or questions? Entertain a motion on item 20.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 21. Anybody got any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Dan Brown. First time speaking before y'all. I think I know some of you. I live at 13574 Camino de Plata, Corpus Christi, on the island. I am here to speak in favor of the reimbursement agreement for the new IGA grocery store. I'm fairly politically active on the island, and I'd like to suggest that the vast numbers of folks on the island and the voting membership would like this. Also, I think it's a big benefit to the people who don't live on the island that go to the beach. You know, that beach is just jam-packed full of people on weekends, and I think it'd be nice for them to say, you know, let's go get something at a local grocery store right there close by instead of having to go all the way back over to across the bridge. So hopefully y'all will consider this and vote in favor of the reimbursement agreement. I know sometimes they're not always economically efficient. I'll use the word efficient, but sometimes you can't always be efficient and make the people happy.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Brian Houseconnect. I live on 15137 Dos Marinas Drive on the island. I echo what Mr. Brown's comments are. I would also point out that it is really a fundamental action of the city to provide infrastructure for development in our city. I know it's not always the case where you're going to go out and proactively provide infrastructure far ahead of development, but in this case there's a development that's very critical to the island and to our residents and to our visitors, and it's appropriate that the developer who's going to be providing this infrastructure be able to be reimbursed for the cost of the infrastructure beyond what their immediate needs are. In this case, there's additional development. We're talking a 24-inch sewer main, which is much larger than what a shopping center is going to require. So it's fair and reasonable that the city provide from the accounts that you already have established, provide that reimbursement for that infrastructure. So I would just say that, again, I think it's a core function of your body to approve a reasonable request to provide this infrastructure reimbursement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Debbie Waugh. I live at 15909 Punta Bon Air. I'm also here hoping that you will approve the reimbursement for the sewer line for the IGA grocery store on the island. This is an amenity that we've all wanted for a very long time, for many years. It's needed. The island's changing. It's growing. The demographics are different. There's families with children, and it's not just a sleepy little retirement place anymore. And so this is a much-needed amenity, and one that I certainly hope that City Council takes into account, and very important that you approve this reimbursement for the sewer line. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Wendy Herman with the Coastal Bend Home Builders Association. Today's staff is obviously going to come before you and present a request for $900,000 out of the wastewater trust fund for the construction of the new grocery store. And while we at the Home Builders Association are very pro-growth and we are very pro-grocery store, we have some concerns about dispersing these funds based on what the current UDC rules are and what it says about their use. There are no taxpayer dollars in this trust fund. This trust fund is made up exclusively of developers' dollars that are voluntarily given in order to be able to bring water and sewer lines to new subdivisions. The rules of the trust fund state that a developer must pay into the trust fund in order to take money out of the trust fund. And the rules also state that the trust fund, or that the funds dispersed, must be equitable. Now, the problem with our association has with dispersing these funds are that this is not an equitable use of these funds. The developer has paid acreage fees, but roughly maybe $15,000, $20,000, but they're requesting $900,000 for this project. The residential developers are basically paying the balance of that out of their pockets and will receive no benefit. It can't possibly open up the 1,500 acres that Development Services states that it will, because it's sitting in the middle of wetlands. The second is it will use up almost 30% of the existing trust funds. Recently, the developers voluntarily agreed to raise the amount that they pay into this trust fund by 10% in order to pay for future growth. It will take more than a year to replace these funds, and even in the statement that Nina presented with your packets, it talks about dispersing these funds will slow down residential development. Thirdly, according to the UDC, these trust funds are to be used for new subdivisions, not repair or replace resisting subdivisions. In the memo that Nina put out earlier to you guys, she talks about these lines will benefit new and existing properties. If these funds are being used to replace existing lines, then this could constitute an unlawful use of these funds. We are very deeply concerned, most importantly, about the precedence that is being set here, because the next commercial developer that comes along, comes to town and has a really great idea and that everybody thinks that we should really do, is going to find an easy path to these funds. So today I'm asking you to consider what Development Services suggested and use one of the alternative methods of funding this very worthwhile project. We also ask that the ordinance that covers the disbursement of these funds be amended to state that these funds are for residential development, as it is the residential development that pays the lion's shares of these funds. I ask that you not disperse any more funds until we can amend this ordinance. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Sandy Graves. I live at 15802 Gypsy Street on the island. And I want to just ask you to reimburse the Rasheeds for the sewer system. The grocery store is a much needed necessity on the island. Not everybody can afford to go OTB to HEB due to transportation. As it was said earlier, demographics are changing. Young mothers need to be able to run to the store and pick up what they need for their children, as well as seniors need to be able to run a quick trip as well. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Any other comments? I don't see any council comments. I got a couple of questions. Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Ina Nixon Mendez, Director of Development Services. This does not replace the line.
So this is expanding service to new areas?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to comment that the developer's been working on this since November 8th and spent tens of thousands of dollars in engineering and other expenses with the expectation of following the rules. And we may need to change the rules at some point in time. But to go at this point in time and to ask a change, and how many times have we approved up here on this podium these kind of reimbursements with it? Many times I know some in where I live, I was going, ugh, but that's the way the rules are. And I think it's so important that we follow the rules, particularly considering they've been working on this now for almost 10 months with it. Like I say, I spent tens of thousands of dollars in good faith, engineering and other costs. I'm completely open at looking at new projects and those kind of things, but to change right now, then I think it'd be doing a great disservice to the people that believe in following the rules if we don't. Thanks.
Mr. Nunes?
I just want to have some clarity. I know we talked about this, but I went back and looked at this. It says the purpose of the wastewater trust fund, and there's 4 of them. The first one says to encourage the orderly development of subdivisions within and surrounding the city. Is this considered a subdivision? And the reason I ask that is because this is also, subdivision is a division of tract of land by plat. And this is our own definitions. The division of a tract of land by plat into 2 or more parts for the purposes of sale, rental, lease, division by ownership.
Right.
So is this property being subdivided?
So the way I would like to answer that question is that you're reading from the purpose section
Right.
of the code, but if you look throughout both the water and the wastewater codes, it references subdivision, single lot or tract throughout the code. Secondly, this is a replat of a final plat. Those pay into, so both the single lot as well as tracts pay into the system, just as well as subdivisions. So in reference to the context of the code, this is applicable. This project is applicable
Okay, so
to receive funds.
I think we may need to update this to reflect what your statement is, because just from reading it just this way, it doesn't look like this is for future subdivisions.
Right.
So
you're reading from the purpose section, but as
Correct.
you go into the code,
Well,
it
I mean,
further.
it should all match.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think for future reference, I mean, I think we may have to when we say, put in this, we have to
Right. And also.
approve somewhat outside the norms of what the purpose of it is.
And then also the code doesn't distinguish between residential or commercial.
No, it doesn't. The
properties.
subdivision says no difference between residential or commercial, it just says subdivide. Okay, so I'm just looking at this particular property, is it being subdivided? And I don't think it is. So I think we need to reflect that changes in the UDC to say replatting or whatever to adjust the language there. Because I think if it's just for subdivision, this wouldn't qualify. Thank you.
Mr. Roy?
I want to just expound on the same thing that was just stated. For the most part, just because of the fact that historically I haven't been around to know how many commercial projects we've actually, in terms of using this trust fund in the past. Since I've been on board during appointment and now election, it seems like it's always residential. But can you, what is the
I don't
frequency?
have that data available. That's something that
Can you think of any time since you've been here that we've done this on a commercial basis?
in the last 17 months, no. But we've only had one application for this particular one, and it was the London Town.
Okay. That's the only question I had. Thank you.
I got any other questions? Mr. Hernandez? All right. You mentioned that they paid into the system.
Commercial users have paid into the system, that's correct.
To the system.
Yeah,
right?
they've paid the lot acreage fees, yes, sir.
All right. But they
Commercial
haven't paid
users
anything into the trust funds.
No, sir. So my statement was that individuals that are platting properties for commercial use, whether it
They
be
pay into the system.
apartments, or they pay into the trust fund with their lot acreage fees. So it's not just residential, it's anyone who plats pays
So
into the fund.
they pay the fees, or they pay into the
They-
trust funds?
Yes, they pay fees that provide revenue for the trust fund.
And has this developer paid his fees and the money in the trust fund?
So the way the reimbursement agreement works is that they owe the fees, but through the agreement process, and this is for anybody, they receive a credit for that acreage fee that comes off of the top of the amount, the project amount in the contract, and the developer is not reimbursed. So in essence, he's paying the fee, but it's through the construction. He's not being reimbursed for it. So in this case, I don't know if that was clearly understood or not, but let's see. In this case, the fee is $7,713.61 is the lot acreage fee. Now, with any reimbursement agreement, what we allow for is a credit off of the top of the project cost. And that credit, that amount, is not reimbursed through the agreement. So in essence, they're paying their fee through a credit that is not reimbursed to the contract. And that's provided in the Unified Development Code, and that is how all of these reimbursement agreements come forward to City Council.
So there's no tax money at all in any of these trust funds. It's all private investment.
It's a fee, yes, sir, that's paid at the time of platting, and then we also have a surcharge fee, which is paid at the time of tap, and a pro rata fee. So all of those fees contribute towards the trust fund.
All right, so that's not a bad deal. You put in $7,000, you get $900,000 back. It's not a bad deal.
I think that the point, though, is that this is going towards the construction of needed infrastructure for the community. And so, again, and then, given, our fees, we know that we know that at some point in time, we do need to raise those fees. We've had discussions related to that, so.
All right, well, I'll try to keep the brief. I don't have any problem, and you read here, one, this is going to deplete or diminish the fund, so basically it's going to wipe it out.
Well, actually, there will be a balance, Mayor, if I may. That balance the remaining balance would be $240,641. Right now, there are absolutely no projects in the pipeline for that particular fund.
So there's no projects pending, there's nothing that you know about?
There's nothing that's been submitted to us.
All right. Well, might be a great time to do this then. And you're saying he followed all the rules, even though I think all of us agree that the rules somehow are not real clear. At least I do. And I think Mr. Hernandez quoted one chapter, and then you got to chase that rabbit to another chapter to find what it really means. I'm going to support this recommendation, but I'm also going to support that we either have a timeout, or if there, and you say there's nobody yet now, there's no applications pending whatsoever.
For this particular fund.
Well, I'm talking about all the, let's just talk about all the trust funds.
For all the trust funds, we have at least 3 applications that I know of.
So if they've made the application under the existing rules, then I think they've got to be honored. If that's the way they started to play the game, we've got to finish it. But I'd like to make a recommendation, Mr. Manager, that we call a timeout, or we defer, or we do something that says we're going to review these trust funds, because this is private sector money. This is not tax money. And I've got a real problem people dipping into something that they haven't put money into, and I don't know whether that's a side deal or go with these fees. I don't quite how to understand how that works. This was these whole trust funds were voluntarily set up years ago to try to help developers and encourage them and motivate them to get some response. But first of all, there's no money up front. This project's got to be done before this money is spent, right? We're not fronting the money.
It's a reimbursement agreement,
Right.
and
so we
and
got to go buy we get to go buy our groceries before we have to reimburse the money.
Well, the reimbursement's done on a monthly basis as the project is constructed.
Okay. Well, I'm going to support this project, but I'm also going to ask, and I'm ready, when I get through, I'm going to make a motion that we ask the staff to get with the people that have a history of this, the developers, commercial and residential, and to do a complete review and revamp of the rules that make them fair. And also address the rates that are charged, because from what I understand, the reason these trust funds are getting depleted so fast is because the rates have remained the same over the years, but somewhere they also started putting in lift stations eligible for reimbursement and all that, and lift stations are killers financially, but the rates remain the same. So, I mean, it doesn't take but one lift station to wipe out your trust fund. So we've either got to have the rates that are going to compensate that. I mean, they're going to get their money back when they subdivide or sell their lots. But it just doesn't seem fair that someone can put in $7,000 and get $900,000 back. There's just something wrong with that. And so my feeling is that we don't process any applications that are not already on file until the new rules have been rewritten and reviewed and rewritten to be fair. Now, I won't make a motion yet. I'll make those comments and I'll get some response from the council to see what they think. Because I think we got a problem right now the way this thing's set up. This whole UDC is just, if there's anything that's driven anybody crazy for the last, at least since I've been on the council, is trying to be in compliance with the UDC. I mean, it is nauseatingly insane to try to deal with this UDC from what I understand. Mr. Manager?
Mayor, I was going to say I support your I know it's not a motion, but your request for us to look at that. I know being here for 3 months, I'm still trying to fully understand these trust funds, and I don't think they're set up in the best way possible. I know the fees haven't been adjusted in over a decade, I think the staff was telling me. So the developers are still paying fees that was set 10 years ago. So we need to look at the fee structure. We need to look at the fairness issue. We need to look at is this the right mechanism to help develop growth? We know that there's a lot of development that's taking place using septic tanks. That's unacceptable. So these three funds, and then even the community enrichment, which is somewhat similar, the 4 trust funds need to be thoroughly evaluated, and we need to come back with to the council with some updates and some recommendations to improve them. Yep.
Mr. Garza?
No, I agree that we have to look at how the development funds are actually regenerating themselves, but there's also some inequities. We talk about being fairness, and again, I'm going to support this because I think the need for a grocery store on the island is critical. And although previous councils have not supported anything related to retail, this is a different animal. I wish we'd have looked at possibly being able to do improvements like this either through the TERS or possibly through the Type B fund, but I don't want to slow down the progress. I know they've gone through a lot of efforts in taking care of the wetland issues, the Army Corps of Engineers issues, everything else. I don't want to slow down this train, so I'm going to support it for that reason. But I also think that the way the rules are written and for the developers funds and everything's geared, the word was mentioned, new development only, and that does not help and doesn't make it fair to those small developers or investors that want to do things in the inner core Corpus Christi area that pay into that fund but have no chance of getting reimbursed for the replacement of a manhole or for a tap or for something they've got a fire hydrant. And I think the rules are not conducive for us to being able to rebuild inner core Corpus Christi. So I think that we need to look at all the issues related to developers funds. And just to be clear, yes, it is private money, Mayor, but originally those development funds were set up as a way to avoid the possibility of impact fees that were being considered at the time. And so again, I think that we've done a lot of progress in the use of those funds, but I think that going forward, we need to look at all the implications and to determine how it is that we need to regenerate those funds. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Roy?
Again, one of the things is that I don't think anyone can really argue the fact that you need an IGA or you need a grocery store out there on the island. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I do think that we got a lot of work to do on this because just standing back and looking at it, how do you make this equitable across the board for small contractors or large ones that repeatedly come in and draw from that fund? So I think we got our work cut out for us. And I do agree that it's, you've got 10 months in the making, that in this particular case, we've got to move forward. But I hope we get it right in the future, because I don't think this is going to be the last that we're going to see of this type of project, and that's a good thing. But we've got to get a handle on this, because right now it is too vague. And I welcome what the city manager said and the mayor, and I hope that we put a lot of attention on that and do it sooner than later. So, and I think it's going to be important in the future that your input is also very important in this process to help us structure this so that it can be a win-win. So, thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you. Just a couple of points on this project as we're talking about it, that they're extending it, putting about a quarter mile of sewer lines in that are not in front of the property. So they're running 1,300 feet of sewer line to it that will benefit other areas. It's a 24-inch sewer line that you could almost serve the island with a 24-inch. The project itself could probably get by with a 4 or 6-inch line. So as we're talking this amount of dollars, there's a lot more that the dollars are going to serve than just this particular project. Mr. Mayor, you talked about deferrals. For clarity, we heard that there's 3 applications in place. My preference is we do not accept any new applications, but the ones that are already in the works as we re-examine it.
I mean, that's fair. You got to go by the rules you start with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, and I think it's been a great discussion, and it is something that we've talked about, and to see that it's moving forward, and after a couple of decades, addressing something that definitely needs to change. So, thanks.
Ms. Guajardo?
Thank you. Everything said so far, I support the points that have been made. But we really need action, because this isn't the first, and again, it won't be the last. Old Brownsville Road. Look at that situation, and that was the same thing in the same little pond of money. Now, to Wendy's point, I totally understand where you're coming from. But in this moment in time today's not the day to say, hey guys, we're gonna go ahead and change this up because we don't think this, and this is fair. You followed the rules, you're doing what we are asking you to do. Now we need to look at everything and say, okay, does this all make sense? Because again, there are examples of this that have already happened and we've not taken action. So really the message here is allow the growth because it needs it. Again, as Mr. Smith said, this is not just for a grocery store. This is to incentivize, which is the purpose of this, the growth of that area. So that years from now, someone will say, gosh, I'm so glad there was a council 15 years ago that decided to put that money forth. I realize it's taken up money, but that's what happens. It takes money to make money, so to speak. But again, we've got to look at these changes, but we really need to do something about it and not let it sit back and then we're all overwhelmed with, all the work that we have moving forward, and this comes back 2 years from now, and who knows who's sitting where. So it's really of urgency, Mr. Zanoni, that we truly bring this back, and we look at what we need to do for this to be a very good product for us to use. And of course, I'm in support of it because things were done the way they were supposed to be. But the points you're making, Wendy, are very valid. I mean, know that. Know that. I know it's probably not what you want to hear, but know that because.
I would have brought it to you earlier if I'd have known about it earlier.
Well, and I don't want to say that, but back to my point is now, because there will be another one. I mean, it's not the first and it won't be the last. So just that's of urgency today, is to get things resolved that we need to address within this type thing. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Point of order. I'd like to make that it's an exception to the UDC purpose of the wastewater system and for approval, not that it's just approved.
You want to make a motion to amend, sir? Is that what you're proposing?
Well, he jumped in before I could make the motion, but I was just going to say if we have to do an amendment, I'd make amendment to approve this with the exception, making an exception to the UDC and the purpose of the wastewater trust fund. It's just more specific on what we're actually doing. It's not saying that we're not approving it. It's just we're making an exception to the UDC purpose of the trust fund.
Make an exception how?
Well,
What's the
it's what it
exception?
stated. It stated to encourage orderly development of subdivisions within and surrounding cities. This is not a subdivision.
She addressed, Nina, did you not address and say that that was a different section of the?
Yes, in other words, that's in the purpose section, but when you go throughout the trust fund code, it references subdivision, single lot, or tract.
As I mentioned, it is an exception to the purpose of the trust
I think Miles
fund.
needs to make that determination then.
There's actually 4 purpose clauses, and this is only one of the purpose clauses specifically mentions the subdivision.
So does that-
This is not an exception. This is in conformity to the wastewater master fund, to the wastewater trust fund policy.
Okay, so I second your motion, Mr. Smith. Oh, I'm sorry. Did Michael? I moved?
Thanks, Miles.
No, Mr. Smith made it.
Appreciate that.
The motion on the floor is to approve item 21.
21. Yes,
Right?
as proposed.
Okay, as proposed. Okay.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion on item 21 as proposed? There wasn't a second, I don't think, to your motion.
No, there was a second.
There was. It's a motion and a second.
We had 3 seconds.
Motion to make an exception?
No. As is.
Who seconded the motion to?
3 people. None to go.
All right.
Paulette was the first one.
All right, so the motion that's legitimately on the floor in terms of procedural order is
Mr.
item
Smith made a
21
motion,
as
yes.
presented for approval.
Yes, that's what I heard. I didn't hear
All right.
a motion
Now-
say.
And that's got a motion and a second.
Yes, at this
All right,
point.
and then Mr. Hernandez,
Made a point
made a
of
motion.
order is what he did to
all right,
stop the.
is there a second? Is there a second of his?
Needed, but Miles answered the question.
Okay,
Mr.
so there's
yes.
no second
I
amendment.
made a
That's right.
point of order. Miles answered the question saying it was not necessary.
Correct.
Okay,
I don't agree with that, but he said it was
Yeah,
not
that's what
necessary.
he said.
All
I'll argue with him later.
okay. All right, so there's a motion on the floor to approve item 21 as recommended by staff.
Correct, as presented. Mhm.
All right, is there any further discussion from the public or the council? If none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Now, following number that 21, I'd like, Mr. Manager, for you or Mr. Miles Risley to put into language what you've heard the discussion of the council say, that we don't want to penalize anybody if they've already started working under the existing rules. And maybe it's, what did you refer, no new application?
No new, except no new.
All right, did
Yeah, I can kind of summarize. Miles and I have been over here kind of writing what we have been hearing, but essentially for the record, the limited funds for reimbursement from the trust fund should be prioritized in accordance with good planning practices for sequencing of construction. And accordingly, city staff will prepare a policy, an updated policy, to govern the order of the presentations of recommended reimbursement contracts in the future. But during that time, as we review and develop new policy guidelines, new fee structures, city staff will not be forwarding proposed reimbursement contracts to the city council to be funded from any of the trust funds. So what that means is that we can still receive applications, but we're not going to necessarily process them, and we will not bring them to council for funding until which time our policy update is concluded and approved by city council. So for the ones that are in the queue, Nina mentioned some are already in the queue or have already been submitted. Those will process under the old guidelines, bring those forward. But any additional applications submitted from this point forward we'll put on hold so that, and we won't forward to city council until the new policy has been adopted by the council.
Mr. Garza?
We need some sort of a timeline. I mean, I just don't want to stop.
Right, I
I
know.
don't want to stop investment or development because we can't come up with a set of rules.
Yeah, we'll have to give you a time. I can't. We'll have to get one when I work with Nina. We'll give you a timeline by memorandum, and it'd be Nina will help us let the development community know as well. It's going to be an important that we be timely, not just for the council, but the development community is going to be even more wanting us to be timely. So.
Well, all right, for the sake of the motion, and I'll take responsibility for the motion that you've written to keep everybody else out of trouble. This is the gist of it, is that you and the staff are going to go back, review, and rewrite this process.
Right.
People that are already in the queue are going to continue to process under the existing.
Right.
The way I understood what you said was that we'll go ahead and take applications, but we just won't do anything with them. Well, if we take applications, that implies that if I'm applying, I'm going under the existing rules. I think what he was saying is that we accept no applications until the rules have been rewritten. And so what I was going to suggest that we give you 90 days to get this figured out. And we keep processing what we've got, and for 90 days, we're just silent for applications so that we don't confuse people coming in that want to do something. Or is there some way, I mean, we don't want to discourage development, but I mean, the development services is, right now, it's kind of a discouragement anyway, so we've got to overcome that hurdle. But what do we do in the interim to honor people that want to develop, but we don't want to, or if they understand that we'll take your application, we'll process in terms of what you're trying to create, we just don't know what the final fee will be. For those of you on the island, your grocery store got its approval, so let's say there's a few smiles out there. All right, okay. The good part about when somebody hands you a lemon, you make lemonade out of it, the good news is this brought the issue to the forefront that we've been dancing around for years.
Sure has.
And so that's the good news of this whole thing. So how do we get to where we want to go?
Miles and I just talked, and he can chime in here if he needs, but if we don't accept applications, then we won't receive additional funds for the trust funds to keep them financially growing. So when somebody submits an application, we heard the term of the lot acreage fee and fees, those still get submitted to the funds. So if we don't accept applications, we don't receive any more funding. That's one reason to continue to accept them.
Well, the problem is fees are going to be a vital part of this whole restructuring.
Right.
And if you take a guy's application tomorrow and he comes in and gets $1,500, and then if your review says they ought to have been $10,000, you're going to go back and pick up the difference?
and I would like to point out the recommendation here is that, and this is a staff action, is staff would be temporarily holding these so that they did not come to City Council with staff recommendations. Council will still have the power to pull these items forth, but we probably need to continue to accept the applications because we're continuing to charge the lot and acreage fees to the developers, and we don't want to create an illegal exaction.
Well, but then how do you reconcile the whole purpose of the review and rewrite is to address the fees? And if Gil comes in next Monday and says, I've got 100 acres out here, here's your acreage fees. Well, what are you going to quote them? You're going to quote them what exists because you haven't rewritten them and you hadn't reviewed them yet. But at the end of the review and rewrite, and it comes back and says, well, Mr. Hernandez, when you first submitted here, it's going to cost you $5,000, but we've reviewed it and we've rewritten it, and now it's going to cost you $20,000. Well, you're going to have one mad Mr. Hernandez, which I wouldn't blame him, and two, it may just kill the project. But that's why I'm saying, do we put a timeout for 60 or 90 days? You guys are going to have to get on your stick horse and ride pretty fast because it's got to be done quickly.
Yeah, but
Ms. Guajardo?
Thank you. So why not just set a date, a future date? Because you can't. If you got people in the queue and you've got people coming forth, you can't just, and I know that's what we're discussing, but why not just set a date? Well, I say well in advance, meaning however long you feel it's going to take to get this done, and then give yourself some leeway because, sometimes things don't go as you think they should in terms of planning these changes. And we set forth the date and say, and I have no idea how long this kind of thing takes, but we say, all right, October 1, December 1, January 1, things are changing. So this is when you come forth, the new rules and regs apply. But everything up until then, and whatever that date, they would need to tell us. So that way it's, we can't have that situation where you just said somebody comes in, you'll cross over and have some angry people. But if we set it forth in a good timing, then everybody knows if your development comes after such and such date, it's going to be subject to the new regulations. Wouldn't that be the safest way to do it?
It would be, Councilwoman. We just don't, I don't know how, I have to confer with staff.
Well, that's what I mean. You guys go back and talk about this and come back, send us a memo, do whatever you need to do and say, this is probably the best date for the future.
We could probably put, if we wanted to, we could address it at next week's council's meeting.
Yeah.
Mayor, well, then the motion needs to say, if you can't create a timeout,
Yeah.
then basically what we need to say in the motion is, I guess, if you're out there and wanting something developed, you got 90 days to get it in under the old rules, and come 90 days, we're going to have a new set of rules.
Yeah, or less. Hopefully it'd be less than that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
90 days, I thought I was being pretty generous. I was going to say 30, but I don't think y'all can get anything done in 30. But, I'll take 30.
No, 90 sounds, we'll beat the 90, hopefully, because this is,
That's what I'm saying. Make it well in advance so everybody's got enough time to know.
All right, let's say, what if we give you 90 days, and if you come in at 60, we'll have a cake?
Yeah.
From the new grocery store.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, and I'll buy the cake.
Mayor, just a couple questions, Mayor. Point of order. Since this is not necessarily an action item on the agenda, is this something we can actually make a motion on for a motion of direction?
It's related to it's related to the words that are on the agenda itself.
Okay.
So
I don't mind discussing it, but
it's validly discussable as a subject on the agenda.
Okay. The second question I have here is that I agree with Councilman Guajardo, or Councilwoman Guajardo. Sorry. In terms of doing this, I think we should. In looking at this, we don't want to stop anybody that's already in process. You're not just going to create a whole application, because that takes a long time to put into place, and in the next 90 days, it's just not going to happen. So unless something's already in place, so I don't necessarily know we have, to hold anybody off from doing anything. I think we should just continue like we're going, and then in the 90-day time frame that we direct to staff, do that timeframe. But I want to go through the normal order to where we go through the planning commission, to where we take public comments, where we involve the developers and everybody involved. So I don't want to rush the process. I want to make sure that we go involve everybody and everybody's on the same page. So I don't know if 90 days is the time frame you need to do that in. It seems kind of tight, especially if you have any kind of problems, so to speak. But ultimately, maybe till the end of the year and start January 1 would be the opportunity. I don't know. Maybe we can get some comment from the Developers Association or anything like that.
The 90 days really is 120 days at least, because the 90 days is for you to come back with a recommendation. And then once you come back with a recommendation, it's got to go through the proper channels. So you're talking at least 6 months.
Okay, that's my misunderstanding on my part, because I assumed that was from the time council takes action.
90 days, 60 days to come back with a recommendation, and then you got to go through your process to change the ordinance and the rates and the rules and all that sort of thing. You got 30-day publication notice and advertising.
Yeah.
So you're buying another 60 days on the end of whatever time period we give them.
Yeah, okay, that's a
So
good
you've
point.
got at least 120 days to 160 days to get this done. But I don't want to drag this out. You guys come back next July.
No.
Right.
And then we started. This has got to be done now. We've dilly-dallied around with this thing for years. Nobody's had the wherewithal to step forward and do it. We just need to do it.
Yeah, we're going to do it. That's what we're about, Mayor. That's why I'm here. We want to get things done, so.
So the motion
one
would
thing
be
though, if
that
I-
you come back with your recommendations, let's say within 60 days. Just keep under the normal process. You're coming back with a recommendation within 60 days. And if you can't do it in 60 days, you tell us why, and if we give you an extension for another 10.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, as Councilman Hernandez says, we do want to include the stakeholders, so the Builders Association.
Well, I'm sure they'll be willing to meet on a
we
pretty
need-
short notice.
So, yeah, so that 60 days, that may be a little tight, but we'll put together a calendar.
All right, I'll give you 75.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion, motion of direction that we instruct staff to come back with a reviewed and rewritten code, or whatever you want to call this, that deals with these trust funds within 75 days. And at that point, we'll start the process. In the meantime, you keep doing business as normal.
Right.
That way, there's no confusion of people coming in. They can still get a bargain. So if you're out there in the development business, except if you're residential, come on, residential, get in here. Commercial, we'll take you to. But there's not any money in the fund. That may be one of the discouraging things. This is going to wipe out the fund, your commitment. You're not going to get a whole lot of development wanting $100,000. What'd you say the balance was going to be? Not much. How many?
$240,641.
$240,000.
That's for that one
Yeah,
fund.
that's not, that won't even get you a toilet lid hardly in today's world. But anyway, all right, I make a motion. We give them 75 days to come back with a reviewed and rewritten rule that applies to this situation. There's a motion and a second.
Yes, Ms. Fajardo, second.
Any public comment? Any more council comment? Ms. Fajardo, you got your light on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, well, we've passed our 1:30 lunch, so we're going to take a 30-minute lunch.
Mayor, can you call
Yes.
for the executive
Oh, excuse
session,
me, I'm
please?
sorry. Wait a minute. We're going to undo that. Bloop. All right, I got to go back. Ms. Huerta keeps me in line. Okay, wait a minute, let me get over here. Where are we? You've hidden the red box. Oh. All right, the council will go into executive session on item 26 per Texas Government Code Section 551.071. We shall return.
At any given time, the city of Corpus Christi has hundreds of street projects in the works. A lot goes into improving the city: planning, patience, and of course, dedicated workers. Nearly 230 employees make up our Public Works Department. That's a combo of street operations and engineering divisions. In this edition of Field Ops, we're heading out with Inspector Jeffrey Mayer as he meets up with contractors in Yorktown and Rodfield for an on-site sieve analysis for one of Bond 2014's road improvement projects.
Make sure everything's done by our spec book, city standards, city specifications. We monitor the work. We document what work is completed, what work is in progress.
Mayer has been with the city for almost 3 years. Before that, he spent a couple of decades building houses. That experience strengthened the planning and management skills needed by one who's taken on the many responsibilities in his line of work.
Right now, Yorktown has airline extension is the only way to get onto Rodfield from Yorktown. Well, that's all fixing to change. We're making it a T intersection.
It's day 122 of 810, and Yorktown needs to pass a lab test so crews can continue building this new stretch of road.
We got about an hour and 10 minutes before our testing lab shows up, so the first thing I'm going to do is drive the limits of my project and check my traffic control plan.
It's something done on a daily basis. Corpus Christi residents are no strangers to our wind, and neither are traffic cones.
Barrels get blown around, signs get blown over.
Traffic control remains an essential part of any project. Drivers need to know where to go on their daily commute, but they also need to follow the signs and stick to their directions. Mayor keeps in contact with other departments on projects like this. Public Works and Utilities constantly plan and work together to overcome whatever unexpected situations that occur.
We all work pretty good together. Coordination on certain things. Everybody's busy right now in the city of Corpus. We're doing a lot of work in all our departments.
While the CCPD handles drivers and multiple departments find solutions to some surprise problems, there's one thing this inspector has no control over: the weather.
In the month of May, the contract already allows for 4 rain days. Well, this month, the first 10 days we couldn't work on this project. It was underwater, so there's 6 days over their allotted rain days right now, and we're only the 22nd.
So now, contractors get 6 extra days to work on the project. Speaking of rain,
we got about 30 minutes before our test. We're gonna go check on our stormwater crew real quick.
Underground utilities are part of this project, and with 10 days of rain, there's a good amount of stormwater. That's why this crew monitors the system and makes sure drainage remains copacetic during construction.
This is Master Channel 31. Of course, because of all the rain, we've got a lot of water in it right now. It's generally not this high.
After getting a satisfying look at how stormwater systems work, it was time to check out progress on Yorktown Boulevard. Once open, Mayor expects it to be an even busier roadway.
Everybody from Flower Bluff that wants to get to the south side of Corpus Christi, plus you've got Rancho Vista, which is a major subdivision. We have this new subdivision behind us being built. Del Mar College is being built where our lime tank is.
But before drivers can experience the full glory of the improved road, the subgrade needs to pass an important test. After a lab tech arrives, he gets a few samples of their subgrade, or road mixture, and begins testing. The contractor and mayor wait for the results.
70.
The lab tech tested a 10-pound sample of the mixture, and 3 of those pounds didn't pass through the 4th sift.
Our city spec says it has to be 85% through the number 4. We're at 70% through the number 4, so it's a fail.
Because the test failed, the contractor has to remix the subgrade for another test. This failure also puts them back a few days. While it doesn't feel good, it's all to make sure the city receives a premium quality road. The day's plans have changed after the testing upset, so Mayor decides to head back to the office and prepare for his future project, Slough Road.
That's what we deal with.
Corpus Christi wants you to know what we do and what services and programs we provide, and answer any questions or concerns you might have. That is why the city put on the 3rd annual City Hall in the Mall.
More than 30 city departments participated in City Hall in the Mall in June at La Palmera to reach out to residents with information about important services and programs the city offers, like child fingerprinting, the Latchkey program, adopting a pet, and payment plans for utility bills. City staff and council members were on hand to answer questions.
It's been a great experience and a great day. The best part about this is that we, the city, are coming out to the public. And so it makes it very, very easy for them to be in the same place that we are. And also the setting is very casual.
City staff handed out treats, prizes, and items with contact information to help residents get in touch with city departments if a need or issue comes up. Employees also gave demonstrations, like how to extinguish a fire, how rainfall affects floodplains, the difference between sober and intoxicated vision, and driving the Rover X that searches underground pipes. Residents talk about what they enjoyed about City Hall in the Mall.
It's been really fun. The kids have enjoyed it so much, and it's been really interesting to see all of the different city operations. Everybody's been so helpful, and we've gotten lots of good information in a fun way.
It's fun, actually. They're very, very helpful with fingerprinting the kids. Very gentle. They make them feel not scared at all. All in all, I think we had a good time. I think y'all did an awesome job. Basically, it was basically just self-explanatory, and keep up the good work.
For more information on city departments, visit cctexas.com or follow on social media. Also watch the city's channel, CCTV.
Reporting for the City of Corpus Christi, I'm Eva Padilla.
Corpus Christi has a commission that is dedicated to preserving our history and heritage. The Landmark Commission meets every 4th Thursday of the month, and they serve a very important purpose to our community.
The Landmark Commission is dedicated to helping to preserve the city's landmarks, history, heritage, to engaging the public in the stewardship of our heritage.
On Thursday, May 23rd, the Commission honored 2 of our citizens with awards of preservation. The Landmark Commission Preservation Project Award was given to Dr. Jeff Allen for his renovation on the old Taylor Brothers building, which was built in the 1930s and is now known as the Bay Jewel Event Center, located at 624 Mesquite.
It was an incredible example of how a historic building can be adapted and reused into a contemporary context. It now serves as an event space downtown, open for the use of individuals, families, organizations, businesses, and kind of revitalizes our downtown space.
Laura Sandoval is the general manager of the Jewel, and she talked to us about all they did to revitalize the old building and people's initial reaction to the renovation.
Almost everybody walks in and says, there's nothing like this downtown, there's nothing like this in Corpus Christi, and they love the look because we kept the stained concrete, well, the concrete floors and restained them. A lot of the original pillars that were support beams were in the building, but they put brick around them, which they found in the building. So that was kind of cool. And then they put new windows in, but they kept where they were originally in kind of the original look.
By adapting and reusing these historical buildings, it brings a historical element to our city that helps provide a community fabric that gives us a sense of unity and pride. The second award that was given out that night was presented to Anita Eisenhower. She received the Spirit of Preservation Award because of her work to help weave the historical fabric of our city for the past few decades. She has served multiple terms in commissioner and leadership roles within the Corpus Christi Landmark Commission, Nueces County Historical Society, and Nueces County Historical Commission.
I've been very involved in historical community since, I guess, the mid-70s. And I was lucky to have some mentors who gave me guidance about what is going on in our city and what is important.
You may have seen some of these historical markers around the city and county. Well, Anita has overseen submissions and dedications of dozens of these state markers for the surrounding areas. She even finds time to write them herself. She wrote the marker about the old Bayview Cemetery because to her, it's one of the most important historical markers that we have.
This is the greatest asset of the city of Corpus Christi because it began when our city began, and it also incorporates all of anyone that possibly lived in Corpus Christi through that period, being military people, mayors, preachers, just anyone, a person who even dredged the first channel for our port is buried there. It is not segregated. We have a Buffalo Soldier there.
These two individuals have laid out the blueprint of what our city and our citizens can accomplish with the right motivation and drive. They understand that in order to move forward, we must not forget the past.
Recognizing individuals who have dedicated their time and their effort, who've invested in that process, whether it's revitalizing, readapting, and reusing a historic building that's been a centerpiece of downtown life for decades, or whether it's individual acts over and over again that an individual does to recognize a particular place or a particular event in our history.
It's important for Corpus Christi to keep our past and our present, and by visiting these landmarks, you will be helping weave the fabric of our community. If you want to learn more about what's going on in our historical community, attend one of the Landmark Commission meetings. You can look up the agenda on our website, www.cctexas.com.
The city held its annual hurricane evacuation drill here at the Corpus Christi Gym. And to them, it's not just another exercise. What staff works on and practices here could mean the difference in someone's life down the road.
It wasn't too long ago that our area was impacted by a hurricane. And thanks to the city's annual hurricane evacuation drill, our staff knew what to expect.
Prior to Harvey, we had done it 6 years in a row. And so when Harvey did come to the actual event, we were ready and we were prepared, and the staff did a great job of evacuating people.
Now, the drill isn't just for the employees of the city. It's also a way to help inform the public and keep our citizens aware of the importance of staying prepared.
As each family should already have an evacuation plan or an emergency preparedness plan for your own family.
A starting point is deciding whether you're going to stay or evacuate. If the answer is to evacuate, then it's important to take the proper documents with you, any medication you're taking, and don't forget about your pets.
The RTA suspends the charges, so it's free. Bring your luggage, and we do evacuate pets. To us, we evacuate the whole community, and pets as part of a family, we make sure that the pet will go with its owner.
After everything is packed and you're ready to evacuate, head to the closest bus stop, and there you'll be picked up and taken to Corpus Christi Gym. From there, you'll enter the gym and go to the registration tables. If you have a driver's license, it'll speed up the process because all you have to do is scan it and they'll have all your relevant information.
Once that's all done, then they come to the loading area, which is here behind us. And as soon as we get buses available, then we start scanning them onto the buses.
From there, the buses will take you to a safe location until it's time to come back. Make sure you keep this yellow wristband on you at all times. It's what the city is using to track you and your family, even the little furry ones.
Well, we've got to be able to track the people. And this system that we use tracks them from the time they register until they come back to Corpus.
Once this is clear, once the city is safe to come back, and we would bring them back the same way.
Drills like this help us stay prepared. For more information on what to do in the event of a hurricane, visit our website at www.cctexas.com. Reporting for the City of Corpus Christi, I'm Brad Godicke.
Fire Station 18 celebrated the unveiling of their new fire truck that has the latest technology. Engine 18 is officially in service.
The Corpus Christi Fire Department marked the occasion with a traditional wet-down ceremony. Council members and other officials wiped down Engine 18 as part of the dedication ceremony to show the truck is ready to respond to calls immediately.
We're here today at Fire Station 18 to celebrate taking another step forward for the City of Corpus Christi and for the fire department when it comes to providing fire protection for the west side.
The fire engine features cutting-edge technology.
It comes equipped with airbags, side row protection for the firefighters, but also the capacity and the capability of the fire truck. It is able to pump 2,000 gallons per minute, which is an enormous amount of water. It also has a 40-gallon foam tank on it in cases that we have to throw foam. This fire truck is the latest and the most up-to-date fire trucks that we can get.
The brand new truck also has Firecom headsets to talk with dispatch, a 500-gallon water tank, a backup camera, a 1,000-foot large diameter hose, and a 400-foot quick attack hose. The city has prepared Fire Station 18 for service quickly. The city broke ground on Fire Station 18 in 2016, celebrated the opening ceremony in 2017, and 2 years later unveiled their new apparatus to begin taking calls. City Council approved the purchase of the more than $600,000 truck a year ago.
Reporting for the City of Corpus Christi, I'm Eva Padilla.
Corpus Christi has many historical landmarks, and you'll want to get out to see them. That's why May is such a big month for our community.
In May, we're joining together with many citizens across the nation in celebrating National Preservation Month. Historic preservation is extremely important on the local, state, and national level.
Without preservation, we would be losing some of Corpus Christi's most iconic landmarks, which means we would also be losing our history and heritage to Father Time.
The oldest residence that is currently standing in its original position is called the Centennial House, and it's the Forbes Britton House, named for two people who called it home, and it stands up on the bluff in its original site from the 1840s.
The Centennial House, which is located at 411 North Upper Broadway, played a big role in our history. It was built in 1849 and used as a hospital and a mess hall for the federal troops in the 1800s. Historic preservation needs two legs to stand on, and the first leg is
public advocacy. In public advocacy, communities identify historic resources that are important to them and acknowledge those resources. And secondly, a lot of preservation is undertaken through private development.
Some of our historical properties have been redeveloped by private developers and are now thriving businesses. It's important to go out and help visit these places to help spread awareness. And when you do, post it on social media with the hashtag #ThisPlaceMatters and also hashtag #ThisPlaceMattersCC.
Tell those stories about your family's history, you know, where you and your grandfather had a hamburger at this one place and you went by this building, or you visited this one house, or you're loosely connected to, you know, some prominent Corpus Christi figure.
Rip currents. They're narrow, fast-moving channels of water starting near the beach and extending offshore. Think of the current as a treadmill. It can travel as fast as 8 feet per second. Great weather for the beach does not always mean it's safe. Rip currents often form on calm, sunny days with waves only 2 to 3 feet high. They're quite fast coming along our Gulf Coast and can be deadly to new swimmers. Here are some tips on handling a rip current and possibly saving your life. Always remember to stay relaxed. Trying to swim against a rip current uses up energy you needed to survive and escape the rip current. One of the most important things to remember: wave, yell, swim parallel. Rip currents don't pull you under, they pull you away from the shore. Wave and yell for help and swim parallel along the shoreline until you escape the current's pull. If you feel you can't swim, don't panic. Keep your head above water, face the shore, and call and wave for help. If possible, only swim at beaches with lifeguards. The City of Corpus Christi beach warning flags only fly when lifeguards are in the stands and are put up within 30 minutes of their arrival. The top flag will be white with a red cross, followed by a green, yellow, or red flag for surf conditions. Green means there's low hazard surf conditions, yellow for medium, and red for high. Keep an eye on these flags. If conditions change throughout the day, the flags do too. If you choose to swim on beaches without a lifeguard, never swim alone. Take a friend and have that person take a cell phone so they can call 911 for help. Also, check water conditions before going in by looking at the local beach forecast before you leave for the beach. For more information, visit cctexas.com or call the Corpus Christi Beach Office at 361-826-3469. That's 361-826-3469. Remember, when in doubt, don't go out.
The health department has the latest technology in body fat composition. It's the state-of-the-art Bod Pod.
The Health District's 1115 waiver program provides chronic disease prevention to Medicaid, low-income, uninsured, and underinsured families. Prevention includes offering free wellness screenings, free diabetes classes, and outreach to community centers and senior centers.
We do a lot of it is diabetes prevention. You know, one in 5 people out there have diabetes, and they're walking around, they don't even know it.
So diabetes is one check. Hypertension is another. That's a part of our screenings. They call hypertension the silent killer because people are walking around with elevated blood pressure and then they end up in the ER with a, God forbid, a heart attack or a stroke.
As part of the Chronic Disease Prevention and Outreach, the 1115 waiver program bought the Bod Pod and trailer in 2018. The egg-shaped machine measures body fat composition to help select people at risk to chronic diseases like diabetes or heart disease.
So once we get to a location, we need to calibrate our equipment here since we are a mobile unit. After I get her weight on the scale, now she will come in here and sit inside the Bod Pod. Make sure you breathe normally. If you do panic, there is a cancel button at the bottom if you do panic and you want the test to stop. We run 2 tests. They're about 90 seconds each. Good job, that's it. I will send her back. You can go put your clothes on and I will print her results for her while she is getting dressed.
The Bod Pod testing offers 3 price packages. The first package is $50 that includes A1C and a hypertension screening. The second package adds a pre and post test over a 3-month span for $90. And the third package has 3 tests over a 6 or 9 month period for $110. The 1115 waiver program saw about 100 patients per month as of September 2017, but has increased to about 250 patients per month in 2019. The division's goal is to partner with companies to use the Bod Pod and help fund other services they offer.
We're trying to partner with corporations. People, they want healthy employees. So we want to say, hey, this is an effort for us to get out there for you. We'll do your screenings on site. We'll start a fitness challenge for your employees. We'll come back in 3 months, maybe 6 months, whatever you'd like. We'll set it up to your liking and incentivize them to stay healthy.
Call the 1115 waiver program at 361-826-1115 for more information or to set up an appointment.
Reporting for the City of Corpus Christi, I'm Eva Padilla.
The Corpus Christi Fire Department spent a week teaching new search and rescue techniques to Latin American fire departments. These firefighters will go back home and teach what they've learned. The fire department's knack for saving lives isn't limited to the city. The knowledge shared with this group of Mexican and South American bomberos will be put towards everyday situations back home. You see, the modern-day fire service is an all-hazard agency. Not only do firefighters respond to fires, they also handle medical emergencies, hazardous materials, and of course, search and rescue.
Our rescue requirement is all-encompassing in that there are many, many different facets of rescue that these firefighters are learning.
The visiting firefighters spent time in the classroom, receiving instruction and learning new skills for the coming week. The language barrier, a challenge easily handled by this group.
We have some members of the McAllen Fire Department and the Mission Fire Department that were kind enough to come up and act as not only instructors but interpreters as well.
After a couple of days of hitting the books, the team practiced their newly acquired skill, shoring. Crews cut the wood that built the protective structures. While doing this, fire department instructors randomly alerted the teams. This drill allowed them practice for taking shelter inside the load-bearing safety tool.
We're also how to use the stuff that is going to be available to them. So it's not just all using, the latest and greatest equipment, but also, they may not have certain saws. They may have a chainsaw, so they're going to use the chainsaw to cut wood. We'll let them use a chainsaw instead of some of the other saws that we carry.
The focus on shoring, no coincidence. In 2017, Mexico City experienced a massive earthquake that injured thousands and killed hundreds. The destruction, a not-so-distant memory for one bombero.
Hace 3 años tuvimos una clase muy similar aquí en Corpus. Y el 19 de septiembre, cuando sucedió lo del sismo, su servidor y mis compañeros viajamos a la Ciudad de México para reunirnos con nuestros compañeros los topos, que somos parte de, y utilizamos este tipo de apuntalamientos. Nos acordamos mucho de lo que aprendimos aquí en Corpus.
After time in the classroom and search and rescue scenarios, the city's visitors graduated from their schooling, each one of them knowing more and ready to return home better prepared for any emergencies needing their assistance. To stay up to date with what's going on in the city of Corpus Christi, head over to news.cctexas.com. For the city of Corpus Christi, I'm Dale Stefan reporting.
The city's code enforcement department wants to remind you that every building must have a visible address identification. The address identification must be legible and visible from the street or road in front of the property and must follow these regulations. If your building cannot be viewed from a public road, a monument, pole, or other sign may be used to identify the structure. If your house number isn't visible, emergency services will have a harder time finding you. For more information, visit us at www.cctexas.com.
It's almost summer, and the city of Corpus Christi is looking for lifeguards to work its Gulf beaches. You need to be 16 or older and know how to swim. We will provide the training. If you enjoy the outdoors, staying active, and working with people, then this job is the right one for you. Join our experienced and dedicated Gulf Beach rescue team and make it a summer to remember. Apply today at www.cctexasjobs.com or call 826-8542. Are you 16 or older looking for a summer job? The City of Corpus Christi Parks and Recreation Department has several temporary positions available for various summer recreation programs. We're looking for pool managers, lifeguards, and swim instructors. Enjoy working with the youth? There are more than 100 positions open for our Latchkey summer camps and the Summer Spark program. We invite you to join our dynamic, energetic, and creative staff. Apply today. Go to our website, www.cctexasjobs.com, or call 826-3460. The city wishes you could see the utility lines our specialists see, but you can't. That's why it is important to call 811 2 days before you dig. Just provide the location of your project and what is being done. Then a specialist will go to the location and mark the underground lines. Now you can begin your project. It's not just the safe thing to do, it's the law. Remember, know what is below. Call 811 before you dig.
The Salinas Park Play for All Playground at 1354 Airport Road is a multi-phase project between Corpus Christi's Housing and Community Development and Parks and Recreation Departments. Their goal? Building a quality complex that includes a wide array of play elements for everyone to enjoy. This ADA-friendly playground is the first of its kind in the city, and Community Development Block Grants made it possible. Phases 1 and 2 feature slides, swings, play decks, and activities for visitors of all ages. The vibrant design includes many imaginative pieces aimed at engaging the senses and building motor skills. The playground features many attractions. There's a zip line, sways, swings, a flat roller slide, quiet space, and a fenced play area. Designers equipped the playground with a uniformed surface, allowing easy access through the entire play zone. The equipment receives shade from a huge weather-resistant canopy. This addition also adds longevity to the structure and surface areas. There's also a low-maintenance extreme climate coating to help fight rust, a side effect of our coastal climate. The Play for All playground is right next to Miracle League Field, a fully accessible ball field with ADA accessible parking areas and sidewalks, also funded by CDBG. The Salinas Park project is part of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and shows the passion the city has for ADA accessibility. ADA accessibility remains a priority, and Corpus Christi hopes to create more Play for All playgrounds like Salinas in other parts of the city, but on a smaller scale. Please come play with us.
It's never too late to jumpstart a healthy lifestyle. Exercising lowers your risk for chronic disease and helps anyone managing conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. It's as easy as walking or as rigorous as running a marathon. Healthy lifestyle should be started early in life, so parents, be sure to encourage your kids to be active at an early age. Look around. Corpus Christi provides beautiful parks, trails, and swimming pools for your family to enjoy. It is never too late to commit to be fit. Start today. Submit your pictures to our social media page with the hashtag #ABetterYou or ABU.
The City of Corpus Christi wants to improve as much as possible, and one of the things we're working to perfect is roads. And with road improvement projects comes construction. Road construction can cause delays and detours. That's why the city keeps you up to date with weekly road reports. You can find out what to expect during the week by heading over to news.cctexas.com. There you can also sign up to receive emails with information from the City of Corpus Christi. If you have any questions about road work, call 361-826-CITY. That's 361-826-2489.
Hello, Corpus Christi. I'm Yvette Garcia-Jones. Thank you for joining us for our monthly engineering update. Our first project, Slough Road from Rodfield Road to Amethyst Drive, will see a full-depth reconstruction and widening of the roadway. This project is funded by Type B sales tax proceeds. Additional improvements will include curb and gutter, sidewalks, street lighting improvements, and a new underground stormwater system. There will also be limited upgrades to Ametrine Drive to facilitate traffic access during and after construction. The second project is a joint city and TxDOT participation project that is completed. The pedestrian hybrid beacon, or PHB, traffic signal has been installed at Ocean Drive and Delmar Boulevard. This new traffic signal will provide safer pedestrian access from the nearby neighborhoods across Ocean Drive to Cole Park. Improvements for the PHB project include installation of the foundations, signal poles, mast arms, signal heads and beacons, audio and visual features, and a controller cabinet. That's all for the July report. For more information about these projects, visit cctexas.com and be sure to follow us on social media for more project updates. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
We finished 20, right?
What is down here for?
20. 21, we did 20. Oh, 22, we got to get 22. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. We're at item, no action taken as a result of the executive session, is that correct? All right. Item 22 is an ordinance authorizing city manager to execute a second amendment on the raw water supply contract with San Patricio Municipal Water District to provide 5,600 acre-feet of raw water per calendar year. Basically, as I think this is the agreement to provide water for Steel Dynamics, I think, in San Patricio County. Is that correct?
Good afternoon, Dan Griswold, Executive Director of Water Utilities. Mayor, it's yes, that is correct. Although there was a name change, and they actually go by Steel Dynamics Southwest.
Steel Dynamics Southwest.
Correct.
All right. Anybody have any questions on that? I think that was, at least I think we ought to take the credit for it.
Right.
I think that was one of the tipping points that in their decision to come to San Patricio County was our ability to deliver water. That'd be a fair assessment?
Yes, sir.
So we played, I think, a pretty significant role in that accomplishment, and happy to, huh?
Must be the mafia.
All right, do we have a motion on item 22?
Mayor, I have a question.
Motion second. All right, is there a question, Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, I noticed that this didn't have anything attached to revenues as opposed on your agenda memo. Is this going to, I mean, what do we Are we going to make any more money from this, from someone?
Yeah, actually, in the memo, it actually stated that the city will have an additional $1.8 million per year with this increase in water usage.
And this is the one tapping in the...
Yes.
Okay, so I see.
Part of the agreement would be to a second tap on the Mary Roads for that facility.
Yeah, it's just not in the financial impact aspect of it. Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Well, Mayor, can we make a motion to amend the agreement to include the name change, just so it's formally that it's referred to as a designated customer, except in one area where it's specifically named, as Mr. Grimsbo has recommended.
All right, for the record, repeat
just
that
the
name.
agreement, not the
Steel
ordinance.
Dynamics of the Southwest, or what?
It's Steel Dynamics Southwest LLC.
Okay.
Move to approve as amended.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. No briefing items, is correct?
Addendum items are still.
Huh?
The addendum items are first reading.
There's two motions, Mayor, 24 and 25.
Oh,
Did we take 23? I'm sorry. We have not. We intended to, but we did not.
23 is an ordinance authorizing a 4-month service agreement. That's within your addendum, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
A 4-month service agreement with Data On Storage. Who's going to do this? Mr. Peter Collins, you going to do this?
Yeah, Peter can give us a quick briefing. This is a first reading, so we'll see it again next week.
Back there all day.
Good afternoon, Council. Peter Acton, Interim Director for IT. This item here is to look at some remediation for our data center. Includes hardware, software, and other components for backing up the data. So this is an example of proactive maintenance to where we don't get caught with end of life or anything like that.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, Mr. Collins, on this, is this actually going to be here located for all this on site, or is it off site as well?
It's a combination.
And where off site?
All respect, council member. It's
okay. I'm with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No more questions.
The only question I have, this is a 4-month thing for $800,000. That's $200,000 a month. So what are we going to do at the end of 4 months? Are we going to go spend $10 million getting some new program, or what?
No, this is the whole solution. This is a mixture of hardware, software, professional services. This is not going to be anything past that point. This is the complete solution. The 4-month is, as far as professional services, as we're implemented, it's all inclusive to the solution of this system.
All right, and the expected life of this system is how long? Do you have any idea?
Oh, this could last well into 10 years. It's designed for future growth, and that's the other reason why we're doing this.
Okay. So we're not going to have to enter into another multi-million-dollar contract at the end of 4 months?
No, Mayor. I wouldn't even bring anything like that to you.
Well, I appreciate that. There's been others in the past that...
Well, yes. I understand.
That's why I'm asking.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. There's a motion and a second, I believe.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then item 24.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanchez or Mr. Houlihan, who's going to do this?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Eddie Houlihan with the Office of Management and Budget. Item 24 is a motion to reset the public hearing from the budget to September the 6th at 9 a.m. due to some rescheduling. We was originally scheduled for the 10th of September. It's been rescheduled to the Friday, September the 6th.
All right. I hear a motion that...
So moved.
You need a motion to reschedule that, or just a note? All right, I got a motion and a second. Do we need it?
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Any discussion? Is everybody going to be available that day? It shouldn't be a long meeting.
Well, we're going to add, it'll be a little longer than we thought because we are adding some other items to that. It's a special council meeting, but besides the 2 public hearings, as the city manager stated, we'd have a few other items.
It's Friday.
Yes, I know. TGIF, but we're going to have a special council meeting.
It's Friday.
We're going to just kind of add a few items so that next council meeting doesn't have a whole lot of material.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Who said? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Gil, I think
we have a recording here. Huh? Item 25 is we're rescheduling the public hearings on the property tax. Is this what yours is about?
Yes, sir.
Go.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Alma Casas, Interim Director of Finance. So this is basically the same thing that Eddie just said. We're having to reschedule our public hearing for the 6th at 9 o'clock in the morning. The second public hearing. The first will be held on August 27th at regular time, 11:30. Any questions? You're thinking.
I move for approval.
Second.
You're rescheduling that for the 27th?
No. The first we have 2 public hearings. So the first one is August 27th,
Right.
and that one's already scheduled.
Okay.
But we're rescheduling the one that was for September 10th
To the 6th.
to the 6th because you're not going to be here.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Oh, I didn't ask for public comment, but didn't see any. All right.
Thank you.
That was 25. Then executive session has been taken care of. Future agenda items. Just one question, Mr. Zanoni, and I don't know whether this is even possible. Next week, I believe, is the salute to the military. Some luncheon, I think.
Thursday.
Rebecca, are you familiar with that one?
The Military Appreciation Luncheon?
Yeah, I think the Chamber's got a bit, it's kind of Military Appreciation Week.
Okay.
And there's also the
workshop.
All Army Defense. It's a big thing about the Luther Jones School of Army Defense or something. They come here and they're having their meetings here next week. And I was wondering, and I know we've already have the tentative posting of next year, but in the first part of our meeting next week, if it's possible,
yeah,
I went to the winging ceremony last week out at the Naval Air Station, and the Commodore gave a fascinating and very informative, very brief history of NAS Corpus Christi and the impact it's had on naval aviation from its inception to the day. And it really took just about, seemed to me, about 10 or 12 minutes, and was wondering if that would be appropriate if his schedule would allow, if we invited him down at the beginning of a council meeting, if he just would give that. It's pretty impressive, and Corpus Christi's played, in naval aviation, has played a significant role since 1940 when the base was founded.
Yeah.
With that,
we can do that. We can, in fact, we can still add to the agenda because we'll officially post it Friday.
Well, let me see if I can make contact with his office. I don't know what his schedule is, but I just thought in that week of military appreciation that it would really be fascinating from the first aviator and how the base got started and the impact it's had. And any of you get invited to go out and do one of those winging ceremonies, I'd highly recommend it. It's pretty impressive. Last week they had 17 young pilots representing 15 states and getting their wings, and I think they do that every 2 or 3 weeks. So the Chamber of Commerce does that. So if you have a chance, it takes about 2 hours time. You go out there and you go through the ceremony and you visit, but it's pretty impressive. Anything else? Anybody have any future agenda? Yes, sir. Mr. Nance.
Yeah, I have two things. Coming up for next month, we're looking for the Maximo report on the implementation citywide in terms of for preventative maintenance and where we are on the status of that. I know we'd ask for that quarterly, and September's coming up on that. Also, a couple of council meetings ago, it asked for the status of arterials and collectors and their status of the maintenance on those particular streets, and list them out, where we are in terms of, where we are in the maintenance cycle. Is it on schedule? Has it been deferred or anything along those lines? But we need to get an idea of where we are specifically on arterials and collectors. Those are the two items I had. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll stand adjourned until next Tuesday. Huh?
You got a Thursday workshop.
Well, we'll have the special on Thursday. The Thursday special. All right. Well, thanks. Good day.